come once again to discuss things.
Okay, I was just curious about that. I want to make sure everything was up to date. Alright, let's go ahead and get started because I am really excited. Hi everyone, welcome to a very special episode of Geeky Gentlemen that I'm guessing, just based on content of what we're talking about alone, is going to be really long. So thank you for clicking on this. Since we're covering so many different books, I am actually going to do work, and I'm going to put annotations so you can skip to what book you want to hear about if you just want to hear us talk about one book. And so we are going to be a little more structured on this one. We're going to go book by book, and you can certainly bring up, oh, well, this is improved in the next volume or whatever, whenever you like, guys. I just wanted to, for the viewers' benefit. And there'll also be timestamps in the descriptions, everybody.
We are talking about 7 books, so this will be...
Yeah. So, that being said, I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is the one, the only Steve Baxi, and, crawling his way out from the YouTube exile is Superhero Enthusiast.
Hey.
So, alright, before we get started, because we're going to jump right into Superman Earth 1 Volume 1, and we're reviewing all the Earth 1 books that have been published to date. Before we get started, I actually wrote something down, and I worked on an impression. Okay. The greatest gladiator match in the history of YouTube. The enthusiast of superheroes versus the Baxi of Geekvolution. You're welcome. I'm sure you enjoyed that.
Does that make you Doomsday?
No, that makes me Lex Luthor.
Does that make John Doomsday?
I don't know. I did it in a Lex Luthor impression, so I want to be Lex Luthor.
Okay, no Jolly Ranchers for you, because that scene was creepy.
Don't put your hands in my mouth.
What was up with that? I still don't get it.
Yeah, Lex Luthor.
I need to see it a second time, but that would mean I'd have to see it a second time.
Okay, ouch. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with Superman Earth 1 Volume 1 by J. Michael Straczynski and Shane Davis. So the reason I wanted to do this is originally I just wanted to do Wonder Woman Earth 1, but if I was going to do that, I knew I wanted Alex on, and I know that Alex has some very, very strong opinions about the Superman Earth 1 books and the Batman Earth 1 books, and so does Steve. And most of the time, Alex and Steve are like simpatico. They're just firing on the exact same cylinders, always keeping pace with each other. They love everything that the other one loves. It's a beautiful thing. This is like the one thing that I never hear them talk about, and I know they both have very strong opinions on. So I wanted to ruin your friendship, I guess.
Civil War.
Right? So, which of you wants to start? Because really, that's why we're talking about so much content today, is because of this.
I guess I could go first, if you don't mind, Alex.
Sure.
Okay, so Superman Earth 1 Volume 1, and consequently the other 2 volumes, because I view them as one story, is one of the greatest Superman stories of all time. I love it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. The big thing about this is, and we'll talk about some of this for the other volumes, but all of these books take 30 minutes to read. They're all exceptionally short, and yet they all feel like movies. So you've got this weird thing with all of them where there's lots of one-page spreads or massive panels. It's almost like 90s where the action scenes feel way more cinematic than sometimes is necessary. But when this was the first one out, when Volume 1 was the first Earth 1 book we saw, and JMS was leaving his Superman run, and he was just focusing on this, and it became a very personal project for him. This one book had some kind of this uniqueness to it. It wasn't like the other Earth 1 books. It was its own thing for a while, and I love it. I love everything they do with Clark Kent in this book. I love the whole idea of him being so powerful, having no connection to humanity, and building that over the course of 3 books.
And Alex?
I hate this for all the same reasons I hate Man of Steel. It's boring. It's not clever. It thinks it's being clever, but it's not really. He's not really Superman. He's not proactive. He doesn't really have any agency in the story. Jimmy Olsen's more heroic than he is in this book. It just sort of JMS doing his JMS thing of like, I was a journalist once and I like comic books, so like naturally I can write Superman. But it feels like he's trying to force Clark Kent into the model of like Peter Parker, and it just doesn't really click for me.
And it's interesting that you bring up the Man of Steel comparison, because I hadn't read this since I first got a hold of it, and that was well before Man of Steel hit. And I just recently rewatched Man of Steel for Batman Superman. It's really similar.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, just the basic plot points have a lot in common, and I never picked up on that. And then, I believe Volume 2 came out after Man of Steel.
Yep.
And you start to look at Lois Lane in that, and she starts to look a lot like Amy Adams.
They do a weird thing where at first she's whoever the woman is from Dexter, and then she starts slowly becoming Amy Adams for some reason.
Yeah, it's just one of those interesting things. I actually have a much more mild opinion of this. I like a lot of little things in it, and overall I think it's fine, it's good, it has moments that I really enjoy. But it's not like this, thing that I hate to death overall, or this thing that I think is like one of the greatest Superman stories ever told. I think there's some absolutely fundamentally the best Superman moments kind of thing. If I were like just, create a top 10 Superman moments, I can probably pull 2 or 3 from these 3 volumes. And one of them is in Volume 1. It's the example I always go to, where like Clark is holding a piece of the ship, and he's trying to look at it with his heat vision, or his telescopic vision, I'm sorry. And then it like kind of lashes out at him or like burns him or something, and he goes, ow. So that's what pain is. I really, really like that scene. That's just like such an interesting Superman scene, because yeah, this isn't Smallville where he loses his powers every other week. He would grow up and he would have to eventually find out what that is, and that's kind of interesting to me. And there's a lot of stuff like that thrown in these books. But yeah, so I'm like right middle of the road for you guys right now. So this is just...
When I said hate, I mean, I don't mean hate in like a really active sense. It's just kind of like, another thing where they tried to be clever and failed spectacularly at it. I feel like what they did with Krypton was just like terrible. And then his ship is like a fighter jet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? And then like he tries out for all these different sports and stuff, and all the jobs that you see him trying at, it's all this like hyper masculine shit. And Pa Kent was now in the Marines? What? And this kind of extends to the Batman books too, of like, why do we have to make everybody quote unquote badass? It's this trend that I just see constantly, and it's like, how mature can we make this? And it's in the most shallow kind of ways of like, oh, this person's really violent now. That's not mature.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's interesting, because I have that problem with the Batman book a lot, but I don't have it with Superman, because I feel like the first book is very conscious of some of that. Like, I don't view it as being clever. I thought it was like really simplified, but based on the arc he goes through all 3 books, he figures more of that out for himself, that the hyper-violent, hyper-masculine thing is not what he's supposed to be doing. And then by the time you get to the end of Volume 3, he really learns that. It really is kind of a Superboy becoming Superman kind of thing.
It is definitely, you're right, when viewed over the course of 3 volumes. But it's like, they should have just released it as one story. Because like you said, like it takes about half an hour to read through one of these.
Yeah.
You put them together, this is basically like a Superman origin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if they dropped the whole thing at once, like maybe it would work better.
That's the thing, because JMS intends this to be a trilogy, and part of the problem is Shane Davis's art is magnificent, and so it takes forever to do.
Oh, I can't stand the art in these.
Really? I love Shane Davis in this.
It looks... Superman is a character who appeared in Action Comics, and he just looks like posy in this. Like, he doesn't ever look like he's moving.
That's interesting. I feel like Shane Davis is Jim Lee done right, because I feel like I have that problem with Jim Lee, and I don't have it with Shane Davis. I feel like his is almost like everything's a painting, but it's a painting in like a classic Greek sense, where like there's an epicness to everything, and you're almost watching it unfold like it's on some sort of mural.
I'd say that about, like, Jay Lee. I feel that way quite strongly about his art. This just felt like, I don't know, maybe it was just the way that it was inked and colored, but it just, like, there was no life there for me.
That's interesting.
And I really don't like this kind of digital coloring either.
That's fair. Either.
Isn't this what they do with I think the coloring style is really similar to what they do with Azzarello and Bermejo's books, Lex Luthor and Joker.
It's grungy.
Well yeah. Like, everything's kind of shades of orange, isn't it?
I think Lee Bermejo does his by hand, and so it's a different thing, but it looks that kind of polished because he's just that good of an artist.
Gotcha.
But this is definitely digital. There's no way around that for this. Which is still weird that so much of this book, especially with Shane Davis's art style and how he how he gets his pages done, so much of it is on the computer, and I don't understand why it takes him so long to make some of these. Like, it's a beautiful book and all, but it's like 90 pages. If you can't put out 90 pages in under 2 years, there's a problem.
Yeah. The art I really like. I like how it looks more realistic. That really works for me, especially with these movie comparisons, because as much as I actually do like the DC's direction for movies, but since everyone else hates it, I just kind of wish they went with this so that there'd be less complaining. Just use these as the blueprint, but that probably wouldn't have happened anyway. I don't know, the art for me really does work in here. As far as Superman's design goes, I don't like, it reminds me of Roth in, like, from the physical sense. He just didn't, like, he kind of sort of looked like Christopher Reeve, but he didn't really look, like, big, like Christopher Reeve ended up getting. And so it's like, you got kind of like a skinny Superman, and, I'm a skinny guy, skinny power, if that's a thing. But, it's Superman. He's supposed to have muscles where you don't even have muscles. So that's my only real gripe about the art.
That's
that
fair.
and,
I think
that and the villain in this kind of looks like what the new 52 Lobo ends up looking like.
No, that's fair about Superman's design. The only reason I'm okay with him being skinnier is because he's still a kid. Like, I think he's still really early 20s at this point.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, and Alex, on your point about the, super masculine things that they have him doing as he's trying out, I didn't realize it at first, because when you said that, I go, well, he only plays football, and then he's, like, a scientist. And then I turned, 2 pages, I'm like, oh, no, stockbroker, baseball,
construction,
more scientist,
yeah.
Construction. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I guess I just didn't pick up on that, so...
And the whole thing is like they treat heroism like it's this terrible burden, and I just don't feel like that's the character.
It's a weird thing to talk about like this, because I totally see where you're coming from with Volume 1, but then I keep thinking, but by the time you get to Volume 3, that's not the case.
Yeah,
it's
and
less the case.
I guess I would say that I'm trying to think how I want to put this. I think he wants to be out there, helping people and stuff, and I think that's kind of what the point of the interview at the end is, but he's just, like, in that same Man of Steel way, he's had to worry about protecting himself and his family for too long, that he doesn't have really a way to go about it. Maybe that's just me, though. Like, maybe that's just the read I got from it.
No, I see where you're coming from. Part of the thing is, as much as I enjoy this, and I like the format of having, 90-page graphic novels every couple of years, this should have been an ongoing. Like, JMS is writing it like it's an ongoing, and there's lots of stuff with the Superman-Clark Kent relationship and his growth and stuff that would just feel so much more natural if they were broken up into, say, 12 or 13 issue arcs.
Yeah, but then you'd run the risk of pulling the Batman and All-Star Batman and Robin thing, right?
Yeah, where it never comes out.
Well, yeah, where it just absolutely never comes out, or if it, like, you know, any interest is lost. If not every single issue was absolutely fantastic, then interest is lost and people move on to other projects.
That's fair. Because he had a Superman run. He had a Superman run and a Wonder Woman run at the same time as he was doing this, and both of those
run was so weird.
Yeah, I don't like either of those, but like they're so counter to what he does here, and he says that he doesn't like what he did with those. So I wonder if that's just what it was. Like he didn't feel like he could do this type of story in like single issue format. Because JMS is really decompressed. JMS, no matter what I read of his, it's always a matter of like he takes forever to tell a story.
And I mean, it took 3 volumes, 2 years apart, so it took him 6 years to tell one story.
2010 to 2015 it took him 5 years to tell this one Superman story.
Yeah, that really speaks to your point.
And I mean, I totally see where Alex is coming from with not liking this. It's one of those things that like I can't separate the volumes in my head, but if I could, I see exactly what the problem is.
That's fair. And Alex, do you think that it improves with the other volumes?
I do think they get better. I feel like the origin is just sort of like, well, we have to get this out of the way. And I mean, we'll kind of get into that because all these books touch on origins of these characters. And I just feel like in a lot of cases it's just rearranging the parts for no real purpose other than to rearrange the parts.
Especially like 1 year before we started doing that with New 52.
Yeah.
Like it just feels very bitter when you're putting this into like the historical context.
Yeah. And that's one of those things, because this came out just before New 52, right?
Yeah, this is like, I want to say November or December, like half a year before New 52 happened, but at that point we knew it was going on.
No, did we?
We knew before New 52 that there was going to be a New 52 thing, and we knew like in the coming August that there would only be 2 books out, and Flashpoint was happening.
Gotcha,
so,
okay.
I don't remember when Flashpoint started, but I feel like by the time this was out and was still being talked about, we knew New 52 was happening. Because I remember a lot of discussion saying that there was lots of rumors going on that the Earth 1 books would become the prime continuity, and that never happened.
That would have been stupid.
The Batman one didn't come out as scheduled.
Yeah, that one came out like a year late, or 2 years late.
Yeah. It's one of those things, because, like, I guess it's weird to put it in the historical context, because it seems like it's kind of commenting on that, but really, you got to think, with how long it took him to draw this was probably written a good year before any of that stuff was even being thrown around shop.
Probably. This probably would have been written around the time we had no idea a reboot would even happen. Like we probably just got done with Blackest Night or Brightest Day. Like we felt like the universe was really defining itself again.
Yeah.
And then this came out.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm still pretty middle of the road. I was really waiting to be won over on like why this was the greatest thing, and I'm just kind of like, nah, it's not, and I still don't think it's bad. I don't know, maybe I just don't have very like high standards for Superman, because I seem to enjoy on some level a lot of the things that people think are either just okay or you know, bad for the characters. So maybe that's just something I have to work my way out of. Because he's not my character. Like, I like Superman as much as the next guy, but not as much as the next guy that loves Superman.
Superman's because I think it's important to talk about these characters in general as well, because part of the mantra for all of these books has been, let's recapture the Golden Age to an extent, and figure out what these characters were at their bare essentials, and then, like, bring in the modern stuff into it. And Superman's one of those characters that's history is really wonky, where the Golden Age is one thing, the Silver Age is one thing, but what the public consciousness of Superman didn't actually exist until the really late 80s. So it's bizarre to have all those pieces work together, and I know lots of people don't like Superman based on how little of his history is really good storytelling, if you really think about it. But having read the Golden Age stuff and a lot of the 80s stuff with John Byrne, I kind of like that as a mix of these two. Like it's nowhere near as good as what Grant Morrison would do later with his action run, but I feel like JMS took the right step in trying to mix those two things and try and make an argument for a Superman, a really cynical world building Superman.
Yeah, and I really like some of this stuff that, like, I like that he calls his mom, and, you know, I like that he goes to visit his dad's grave, and there's just little stuff like that. It's just, it feels very Midwestern, you know, boy moves to the big city to me.
Yeah.
A lot of it just how... Alex, you talk about how he's disconnected from humanity, and I want to ask you to elaborate on that, because I feel like the one thing this has going for it is a really good Clark Kent who feels more human than alien to me.
But that's kind of the thing, is it tries to pull off both. And you have those good things, like he calls his mother every night. That's totally Clark Kent. But then, you know, he has daydreams about killing everyone on Earth.
Wait, what? Huh?
That's in the volume 2.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But there's just, I don't know, it's just, there's weird things like that, where it feels so much like I'm reading JMS using Superman as a puppet to say what JMS wants to say.
That's interesting. Because I never read it as him being alien. I always read it as, this is a kid that's really homegrown and loves his family, but he's amazing. Like, it's almost like having a super smart kid in a remedial class kind of thing. And the humanity is not... The humanity, for me, always more so came from the fact that he has to stop seeing himself as above people because he loves people, and he just hasn't, like, made that connection between his parents to the rest of the world. And that's what he goes through the rest of these books.
I'm not interested in that story. That's not a story I want to see told with this character.
That's fair.
And it's frustrating because it's like, how often do we actually get Superman nowadays?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, and then if we want to get into the subsequent volumes, there's that whole bit where they talk about the Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex, and it's like, why are they discussing this kind of stuff?
Because we've all seen Mallrats, and this is a conversation that Jonathan Kent should probably have had with his son at some point.
I don't think that's something that ever needs to be addressed.
See, I would agree with you. I just feel like for this version where, like, he's so attached and detached at the same time, that those kinds of things would just kind of come up. Like, it's a much dirtier world, and I like that they try to clean it up with Superman around it. But there's certain things you can't avoid because he is raised on Earth, and so if he has to have some of that cynicism built into him that he has to overcome.
Okay.
I just see the whole thing, kind of like I said before, is it's like JMS is writing himself as Superman, and it's like, oh, you see, oh, it's this kid who, oh, but he got C's on purpose, and he didn't do extracurricular activities. And it's just like, you know, you see all these things in Clark's life, and it's like, this is some angry nerd who grew up to be, I guess, a successful writer, and now it's like they're kind of writing their sick little revenge fantasy. It's weird.
That's interesting. I never thought about it in that way.
Yeah, no, I have all the volumes sitting next to me, so I wanted to look at the scene you were talking about. He doesn't, like, imagine blowing up everyone on Earth. He imagines blowing up a dictator. So I think it's interesting because one of my favorite tropes is when a bully gets their comeuppance, and it's always really interesting to see how superheroes handle that. And one of my favorite things to see, honestly, is Superman be bullied. And it's not because he doesn't have the strength to fight back. It's because he can't let himself do that. That he cares about people so much that even when they're being awful to him, he won't hurt them. I really like that kind of take on Superman. And it's something I it's probably my favorite scene in Man of Steel, that he wants to hit someone, but he knows he shouldn't. And it's just a kid dealing with that. Yeah, like, that really works for me. And it's also in this, too. So, I don't know. I don't think it's a sick little revenge fantasy. I think it's just someone, like, really, if you try to put yourself in those shoes of, like, what if you could do anything, but you still wanted to be a good person, so you won't. And I don't know, I find that to be a really fascinating idea.
I think it's an interesting idea. I just don't think it's actually, like, explored in a sophisticated way here. It's just like, what if Superman was as bad as we were, potentially?
What if God was one of us? I was waiting for that one, sorry. I've got like a whole list of jokes planned. Just wait till we get to Wonder Woman. Okay, I really want to move on to the next volumes. There's just one other thing I wanted to talk about with Earth 1. What do you guys think of the new villain that JMS created for this?
What was his name again? That's exactly what I think of him.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know, I thought it was an interesting idea, but yeah, he doesn't have much character.
That's my consistent problem with all of the Earth 1 books, is that none of the villains, aside from the main characters being explored, anything that they fight have absolutely no personality or character beyond a setup for some kind of theme or symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, how grotesque can we make this?
Yeah, like, I like what Parasite does to Superman in Volume 2. I like the idea of Superman taking out a guy that could tell him what his home is like, but neither one of those characters is a character.
Fair enough. I was just talking about more from a plot point of giving, Krypton a sister planet kind of situation.
I like that.
Cause I thought that was a pretty clever idea, but I will agree, I thought it was... I didn't think it was done very effectively. I also like that JMS sets up some rules that Is he planning to do a fourth volume?
He says he's planning a second trilogy. So he's doing 4, 5, and 6, or planning 4, 5, and 6 right now.
Okay, because I like the idea that he sets up here where Superman going to different stars, or Kryptonians and whatever these people are going to different stars has different effects on their biology. And I'm really curious to see if he starts to explore Celestial Superman and do stuff with that.
It'd be a fun way to merge his Bronze Age and Golden Age take with the Silver Age, where Superman just had random powers for whatever situation.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if that comes into it. So I'd agree on a character level that none of the villains in the Superman books really worked for me, especially Zod. But I do like the idea of these villains. I'd like to see them actually introduced into the main canon to be everything that Krypton could have been for Superman. That could be interesting, but that he can now never have kind of situation. Yeah. Anyway, anyone else want to bring up anything about Volume 1 before we move on to 2?
I don't think so.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, we're going to do ratings as we go, so let's go ahead and do a quick rating. I'm going to give Superman Earth 1 Volume 1 2.5 out of 5, since I think it's straight down the middle, just okay. Bald muggers who've had their hair burnt off by laser eyes.
Steve? I'll go ahead and give the first volume 4 out of 5 phone calls to mommy every night.
Alex?
I'm going to give it 1 out of 10 potential Superman jobs.
It's like
ouch.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to Volume 2. So I'm going to start this one with a complaint. So I bought Volume 2 in paperback, but I bought all these other Earth 1 volumes in hardcover.
These in paperback?
Yeah, eventually.
I had no idea. I just assumed they were all hardcover.
Oh no,
I've never seen them.
After I can turn on video if you'd like.
I'm not asking for proof. It's just like I always buy these when they come out. So like I never. Oh shit! They do make them in paperback.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
No, so I bought this volume in paperback, and now it looks really awkward with all my other hardcovers from the Earth One line on the shelf, and that makes me sad.
That's funny.
So anyway, yeah, Earth One Volume 2. Alex, why don't you go ahead and start us off on this one?
I don't even know really what to say. The politics of this was weird. I noticed, this is totally nitpicky, but where is his Fortress of Solitude in this? Because in the first book there's polar bears, and then in this one there's penguins. And that's the complete opposite pole.
That's a good question.
I was about to say it's underground in this continuity, but no, that's a really good point. Unless in this universe, penguins exist on the North Pole too.
Maybe. They're moving the polar bears down south because the ice is not melting.
I don't. Yeah, that's. I can't argue against that. That is a really. I mean, you want the real answer? It's Shane Davies probably doesn't know that about the poles. I don't think most people know that about the poles, but you're right. Like, it's something I don't ever think about, but whenever someone says it, I remember it.
Yeah.
So I think I would even make that mistake too. So, that's...
Especially considering he'd be drawing this 2 years after he finished the first one, and he probably has no idea what pole he put it on.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that wasn't JMS. Like, JMS probably didn't say, draw the North Pole.
It's a stupid joke, but do you think Mrs. Claus ever goes over to the Fortress of Solitude to borrow a cup of sugar?
Of course she does. Why wouldn't she?
There'd be nothing funny going on, though, because it's Superman.
Yeah.
Some of those robots, though, I don't know.
Yeah. The robots are the weird part, but no, Superman's always there to give Mrs. Claus sugar.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, so, I don't know, that's a really funny nitpicky point, though, Alex, thank you.
Just something I noticed, I was like, because I read these back to back, I was like, wasn't there a polar bear last time?
That's really funny. Oh my god, I'm never going to be able to look at this the same now.
Superman just arbitrarily...
Maybe he moved it in between books, I don't know.
Yeah, well, the military was trying to spy on him, found out where he hangs his cape, so he just drilled straight through the core, so he can go, back and forth to wherever he wants.
He's got tunnels
Actually, I will use that to transition to, like I say, there are a lot of little things I like in this. I like that the Fortress of Solitude is underground because, yeah, even when it was first being established, I mean, we had aircraft. It's a giant fucking, sparkly crystal thing in every other comic book. I'm pretty sure someone would notice that.
Or it's, carved into the side of a mountain and there's a gigantic door.
Yeah. It just always seemed odd to me that it was, so huge, and so I like just the little touch, it's underground now, so it's hard, it can't be found by satellite, basically. I like that. It's a nice little detail.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at the panels because I just want to see these penguins. Damn it, I'm not see. All right, I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna look for that later though. So what about the politics though? Let's go to the actual story thing.
Well, I mean, you have that. I guess he's a dictator. I mean, they don't really specify, but it's sort of implied. Oh, this is some communist state or something, and it's not really explored, but then they talk about it in the next book, and it's sort of a difficult thing to talk about in isolation. And this is in Volume 3, Superman yelling at the United Nations, what?
I really like that scene. That's interesting.
I just think it's so petty and adolescent.
But I like that because that's this Superman. This Superman is not the diplomat. This Superman's not the one that's grown to maturity before he's outed himself to the world. He's one that grew up in a world that was already cynical, then became Superman too fast. He's kind of exactly what a teenager turning an adult right now would be. And if you are in that age range and you had all this power and you could go to the United Nations, you would yell at them.
Yeah, that kind of lines up with some of the Golden Age Superman stuff. I immediately go to Superman just grabbing, this is before World War II really broke out, but I immediately think of Superman grabbing that famous strip of Superman grabbing Hitler and Stalin and taking them to the UN. Or no, or was it to...
It was,
UN wasn't around yet, so to Geneva, was it?
It was, League of Nations.
Yeah, maybe. Something like that. Some kind of, like, international...
It would have been League of Nations, because United Nations was after World War II.
Yeah, that's
There's an example of bad politics and false equivalencies.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's the 40s propaganda, sure, but still, I mean, that's something Golden Age Superman did that I don't think...
I have no problem with him going there and basically telling them kind of the right way to do things. I just think his speech, as it's written in this, is like a 15-year-old was saying it.
Okay.
Like, I like a more aggressive Superman who is really willing to rough up the bad guys. That's not an issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things about the Superman is I don't think he knows politics. I think he just knows what he thinks is right and wrong. So going to the UN and yelling at them, from a moral standpoint, I like his argument, but like he wouldn't specify what he thinks is wrong because he's not...
Yeah, it's like anybody can stand up there and bitch, but like, okay, give us some policies.
But I kind of like that, though. I like that this is just a kid from the Midwest who grew up too fast with too much power, and that is something that he would do. Like, this wouldn't be a guy that would sit there and learn policy. He'd be a guy that is an outcast for most of his life and then decides to join the world. And when doing that, he wouldn't be thinking about those sorts of things.
Then JMS should be writing The Authority and not Superman. That's kind of where I keep coming back to is there's nothing really about the way that they portray Superman in this that interests me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, like, can I be perfectly honest? I don't really like Silver or Golden Age Superman all that much. Like, there are, bits and pieces, of course, that, like, you take an isolated scene, sure. I just never really got into it, and that's kind of like what everyone thinks Superman is, I guess, even though that's not what he always has been. And then Bronze Age, I just don't care. And then, a lot of the modern stuff, they're just trying to search for an identity for the character. And so this is just... I don't know if I want to say it's good or anything. It's a consistent character of Superman. Like, everything that this Superman does, I believe that this is something that the character we've seen so far would do. Nothing seems out of character for this version, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's my thing with it. It's like, I like what he defines as Superman in the first volume, and he just keeps writing that. Like, it's not my ideal version of Superman, but the way the story's being told, I really like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's...
And I mean, I like Golden Age Superman, and I love Bronze Age Superman. Bronze Age Superman is my Superman. But, like, I like this as a middle point between them.
That's fair. I don't know, like I said, I'm just not the biggest Superman fan, so I guess I've never really had much of a dog in this race. Or horse, whatever metaphor I need to be using right now. So maybe that's why I'm just so middle of the road on these. I'm like, yeah, they're good. They're fine. And I just don't have much of a stake in this character, and I never really have. If people love Superman, good on you. If you hate Superman, that seems like a waste of energy, but okay, do what you want. And so when I see these, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, it's a neat little universe that they're setting up. There's some cool scenes for Superman to have, so I'm enjoying it. And I don't know, that's all I really... When I look at comic books, we're kind of talking about these as they kind of work as a movie. When I look at comic books, I kind of treat them like television, where I don't expect most of it to be good. I just expect it to be, generally entertaining or enjoyable in some way. And so that's kind of how I've come to these. Is I just think they're, generally they have enough little things here and there that I enjoy. They're consistently characterized. They have interesting metaphors. I think that's probably the best thing Volume 2 has going for it, is this theme, this metaphor of power and what power means. I find really fascinating. So Let me ask you this, Alex. Do you think the general impression I'm getting from you on this volume is that you don't think it's a really good take on Superman, but do you think it's a well-told story?
No, I mean, that's kind of the biggest problem that I have with, and this extends to kind of the Batman ones too, I just think the stories are boring. Like, it's just, on the level of entertainment, like, there's nothing really much that draws me into it.
Okay.
I don't know. I've always found them really entertaining. I don't know. Like, these always caught my attention. Like, I go back and reread all 3 of these Superman books pretty often.
Well, Steve, what are you finding entertaining about it? Because I'm just kind of like, oh, this is a neat little scene, and oh, this, this theme is well carried through. What are you finding entertaining about them?
So, the interesting thing about Superman in the Bronze Age versus this that I think is a cool reversal is in the Bronze Age there is this idea that Clark Kent is a person, but in creating Superman, and he opens up problems for himself about his perception. So, like, there's a great scene in Man of Steel, the comic, where he has weights in his room to explain why Clark Kent would have a massive physique. And when Lois Lane shows up, she's trying out his weights, and Lois is like, these are as light as mine. And because he's so strong, Superman would have no gauge for, like, what's heavy and light comparatively for a human being. And so, like, his sort of like extra layered Superman, this kind of vague persona he puts on, is always really for the good of humanity, but there's always a slight disconnect that he can only reconcile by being Clark Kent, and like there's an interplay between those two versions, and I like that this is the reverse, except that Clark Kent's this vague thing that Superman is allowing him to explore humanity. Like, the theme of power in the second book, like, part of why I love this stuff with his love interest that becomes his friend later, when he loses his powers and everything, is like there's this inability for him to, like, surrender himself, and there's quite a bit of this series where he's kind of a selfish person, but through being Superman, his sort of, like, 21st century cynical Clark Kent arrogance is fading, and I don't know, I really like tracking the progression of this guy becoming a good person because he decided to be Superman, as opposed to Clark Kent being a good person and creating a better one as Superman. And they're both really good ideas. I just think that this is a fun reversal of that, and I like the way JMS is playing with those tropes.
How do you feel about the relationship stuff in this, outside of the, Man of Steel, Woman of Tissue?
I liked it.
Alex?
Didn't really interest me.
Okay. I don't know, I liked, it's kind of fun to just see someone like, I like that someone like Clark Kent and not Superman, if that, like, again, it's just the little things about this here and there that I enjoy. I like just the novelty of someone being attracted to Clark Kent and not to Superman, so that was kind of a fun thing. And so I like that there's this, really, kind of, she knows what she wants, and she wants Clark Kent, girl just trying to get in his pants, and I find that really funny. And he's like kind of overwhelmed, and there's some really fun dialogue in this. Like, what is the line she has where come on, hold on, I've got to find the damn page. Like, he wakes up and she makes the suggestion that they should have sex, basically. It's like, do you think I'm beautiful? And then he just, like, falls over because that's the exact moment that his superpowers come back. And she's like, not the usual reaction I get to that question. I don't know, there's just some really fun dialogue, so I really like their relationship in this. And I don't know, it's kind of like an interesting reversal where usually Lois Lane's kind of the bumbling one with googly eyes around Superman. And so we have not a reversal of that relationship, but a reversal of that dynamic.
I also like that she is exactly the opposite of what a stereotypical farm kid would look for in a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you really go back to Superman's Kansas Silver Age stories where he's just like the aw shucks kind of guy, he'd be totally lost with a woman like that. And this Clark Kent's not exactly that way, but he's sort of having the same effect, and I think that's fun.
Yeah, and he just doesn't know how to handle it, and like he he really likes her. And then there's the added drama of, well, can I even touch her? And I don't know, like, as silly as it is, we've all seen that scene in Mallrats, and you have to admit to yourself, somewhere in the back of your mind, you've thought about that question.
I always thought Superman had precise muscle control, so
that
would never
is
be an
the
issue.
answer that I hear the most. But like that's one hell of a gamble to take, isn't it? Right? Like, how precise is it, Superman? And I don't know, like, I like the idea that his dad, like, it's the most awkward conversation possible, and Clark has to have it with both parents. It's the most awkward conversation he could possibly have, and he doesn't want to be having it, just like any kid. Like, we all kind of sat down for the birds and the bees thing a little bit begrudgingly. I at least in my experience, that's like every friend I've had. It's like, yeah, we remember how awkward the talk was that first time. And it is a really awkward thing that no one really wants to have with their parents, because you don't want to talk about sex with your parents, but it's an important conversation that you have to have anyway. So I don't know, I like that it's even more awkward because of, you know, the superpowers getting involved. And that was, I haven't seen Smallville in anything of Smallville in years, but that was one of the things that I always thought they handled fairly well, was Clark and his father dealing with just, you know, family stuff, boyhood growing up stuff, and mixing that with superpowers. So I thought that flashback really worked for me, and it is also kind of giggle, snort in this clever. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the weakest of the 3 volumes, but I still really like it. Like, there's so much bad Superman in the comics. Like, it's very difficult to find, like, a consistent era where that character is well written. And every time I find a good run, it always gets interrupted for some reason or another. And I don't know, having these books fill that void really works for me. I guess I just enjoy them more on that level of, like, at the time I was trying to get into Superman's history and read more of him, this was the first thing that came out.
Gotcha. Okay, so before we move on from 2, let's talk about the villain. So I really like the sketchbook version of Parasite they have in here, with the, like, long, elongated, kind of tentacly fingers. Wish they'd went with that.
He did look better.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's more unique. I don't know, I like that more. I like the idea, though, just from a story structure thing, of dealing with Superman, you know, how should he use his power? Like, is it dangerous? You know, mixing that in with the relationship stuff, I thought was done fairly well, and then, you know, balancing out with the villain that craves power, and you know, I think all of that stuff, just from a structural standpoint, if nothing else, really worked for me.
Yeah, I think Parasite's great for the metaphors and symbolism of the story. I just don't think he's a good character, just like the first one. I forget. I just read this book today, and I can't remember the first villain's name.
It starts with a T, doesn't it?
Does it? Tyrell? It's Tyrell, right?
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Okay, it's some Game of Thrones name. Anyway. Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know, I kind of like the idea of, well, a serial killer gets superpowers, and, like, he has that neat little speech in his head about, I wonder if I can find 6 billion ways to kill, or 6 billion different ways to kill them all. The trial and error alone will be fantastic. I'm not sure what exactly he's thinking at certain points, because, like, he takes all Superman's energy, and then he, like, just fucks off and goes and destroys stuff until he starts running low on energy, and then he just lucks in taking Superman's energy again, and that happens, like, 2 times. And, like, even in Superman the Animated Series, when they did the episode with Parasite had the forethought to, you know, chain Superman up and, you know, keep coming back for him, as opposed to just hoping Superman shows back up again.
If I wreck someone, Superman will come.
I thought that was a really odd plot hole, but I don't know, I just didn't care enough.
Parasite, again, I don't know. He's my biggest problem with this book. Because
there's so much interesting. Felt so paint by numbers.
Yeah, like it's the easiest way to do him, and obviously the metaphors I like, but they are the really obvious choice to go in this with this story.
And doesn't it feel like it kind of works with that movie thing, though, right? Like, this feels like kind of a generic Parasite that we'd get in, maybe a mid-2000s Superman movie.
That's actually a good point and good way to describe how these feel to me. Like, maybe this would have been hip and cool if all of these had come out when these books were first announced, but we've come so far since then.
Mm-hmm.
I guess suppose as a reader have come so far since then.
Yeah, that's fair, and I don't know, it works for me just for the cool fun stuff. Like, let me ask you this, Alex, because I know from just knowing you that you don't like the direction the DC movie universe has come. If these had come out as movies instead of books, I don't expect that you would like them, or love them or anything. But would you prefer them to what we've had?
That's tough. I mean, I would rate this as kind of maybe like in between Superman Flyby, which never got made, which I've read the script from. It's the weird one where like Lex Luthor's a Kryptonian too, and like Krypton wasn't actually destroyed. And then
that's the J.J. Abrams one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then like Jor-El kills himself to bring Superman back to life. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's really weird. But it has some of these elements that are a little bit darker and like, well, let's look at his powers in a quote-unquote realistic way. I'd maybe put this in between Flyby and Man of Steel as far as quality. I would actually say Flyby would be worse than Man of Steel.
Okay. So you'd actually like this... You'd like this less than Man of Steel, then?
Strangely.
That's
wow.
Wow, yeah. Because I hate Man of Steel almost as much as you do. Like, I think it's an awful movie, but I think this is much better.
I just feel like at least Man of Steel, even though it was fuckery, had some unique qualities to this. Just the overwhelming feeling when I read these is, this is so generic.
I wonder how much of that is intentional, though, because, like, we'll get to this when we talk Teen Titans, but one of the things I like about all these books is these are very quintessential. Like, they're not really the writers doing their own thing to change up these characters. They're trying to do the most bare-bones, basic, okay, what does it take to have Superman? What does it take to have Batman? All right, let's do that again. Let's do the basics of this character in a new world and really, really go on from there.
I agree with you there when it comes to Superman and Wonder Woman. Like, I feel like Alex, before you said, like, you thought this was trying to be clever, and I still don't think they are. Like, I feel like what JMS did with Superman here is trying to make it the simplest story possible and just focus on Superman's humanity. And I never saw it, like, as trying to be anything more than that, and that's partly why I love them so much. It's like, every time I read a Superman story, everyone wants to, like, reinvent the wheel and make it, like, a world-ending event. Even John Byrne constantly told stories that were too big for his version, but this doesn't. Like, this is so minimal.
Okay, anything else on Volume 2 before we go for a score?
No, I don't think so. Oh, this has singing in it, so it's totally fucked. I can't stand that.
I don't like singing.
I thought it worked here. Like, we were talking about this on Twitter, actually. I thought it worked here just because it's a really recognizable song, and it's the most recognizable point of that song, and it's really brief. Admittedly, it comes back 2 or 3 times, but it's still really, really brief in how often or how much of the song she is singing. So
I just generally don't like music in comics because pages cannot play sound, so...
Yeah, Alex and I were having this whole conversation on Twitter like 2 years ago, and then I responded it yesterday. So if you follow both of us for 2 years, you'll understand what we're talking about. If not, then you're just not loyal enough, and you should feel bad. Okay, so for a score, Yeah, I'm gonna give this. I like this one slightly more than Volume 1, so I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Parasites with long tentacly fingers as opposed to normal hands. Steve?
I will give this 3.5, because I like it a little bit less than the first one. I don't think it's bad, though. I think I'll give this a 3.5 out of 5 spaceship Deus Ex Machinas. That was convenient, by the way, that a spaceship could just do that.
Oh, well, get ready for Volume 3.
I'll give this 2 one-eyed cats out of 10.
Aw. I like that scene with the cat,
I do too.
Alex is like, fuck the cat.
He has a dog, damn it. And I'm a cat person, so...
I just don't like
nothing please you.
No, I'm the hater on this panel this time.
This is
Okay,
interesting. This is one of the only times we're making a video where everyone's like pretty lukewarm and calm, and I'm not the one that hates everything.
Right?
Like,
Right?
like
You
it's
can't
gonna
bear that burden
hey.
all the time, Steve.
So like on a friendship scale, how's the friendship doing so far, Steve?
Alex is still my best friend.
We're
Aw,
still cool.
that's
We're still
sweet.
cool.
Even though he hates the sad story about the one-eyed cat.
Yes, it's okay.
I didn't hate the story about the cat. That was arguably the best part of Volume 2.
Okay, no, it's fine. I'm kidding. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to Volume 3. I like that. Again, from a structural side, I think that is one of the strongest things. Structurally, even if you don't find the elements themselves entertaining, and I guess we can maybe say that's a taste thing, because, I mean, Alex, you're kind of the odd man out here on that one. I think structurally, though, all the stuff really builds up together really well, and so that's where we get into Volume 3 and the Zod stuff, and I like seeing, the other side of the panels for the rocket launch to Krypton. Actually, before we get into the story, let me ask you this, because I know you're not a Krypton guy. How do you like Krypton's involvement in these books?
I don't ever want to see Krypton ever.
It's like 4 panels.
I don't care about it. I care about Superman. I don't care about the planet he's from. That's not the important part.
Okay.
That's fair. I don't really care for Krypton either.
No, I just thought you would appreciate something that didn't involve Krypton, like, a lot of stuff on Krypton. So, I guess not.
Whatever, desperate scientists, that's all you need.
Yeah. So, like, your number one thing is, well, no, because All-Star Superman involves the Kryptonian astronauts.
That worked within that context. That was probably my least favorite part.
Okay, no, because I was about to say, your favorite thing is All-Star Superman, because it's just like, doomed planet, and that's all you see.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, man.
4 panels, that's all you need for the origin.
Yep. So basically, your ideal Superman movie would just be those 4 panels, really, really slow for Superman origin.
I wouldn't do a Superman origin movie, or I'd make the origin about, like, him coming to Metropolis.
That'd be...
Well, I mean, that's kind of what Volume 1 was, but...
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you guys go ahead and start up on this. I will be right back, and I'll be listening now.
Okay. So, I like Volume 3 more than 2. I don't like it quite as much as Volume 1. The big thing that I don't like at the end of this, or through most of this, is Lois Lane.
Yeah, I've not been a fan of this Lois.
Yeah, see, because she's barely in the first 2, and so I didn't mind her, but she becomes the main character, and she's basically Clark's girlfriend by the end of this, and I don't like that. I feel like they haven't earned any of that.
Yeah, it kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's really strange. She's not, and she figures out Clark's secret identity in the dumbest way possible. When she just goes into his room and, it's just hanging there in the closet.
Yeah.
You know that's not Lois, right?
Isn't that Lois?
No, that's
No, that's Lisa.
That's the same girl from before.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
They look the same, though.
Yeah, it's the art.
Yeah.
This is the one that's not drawn by Shane Davis.
There were a couple pages in this where I did have to stop and go, wait, which character am I looking at?
I had that in the second one too for some reason. Like both this volume and the second volume, but more so this one. A lot of the faces look exactly the same, and it's hard to tell.
Yeah. How did you... I guess the big thing that's really different about this, as far as, like, the mainstream Superman mythology, is how they handled Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about that?
I like it. I like this idea that Lex Luthor has two extremes. Like, we've always seen that in the comics. We've always had that thing of Lex Luthor is trying to progress humanity, but he thinks Superman is a wrench in that forward progression. And I've always liked that take. And so having two Lexes here, one that's very much the mad scientist and one that's very much more noble, and killing one of those off and trying to make like a more definitively evil Lex Luthor, I think is really cool.
And one thing I like about the way Lex is used here, Lex Squared, Lex Squared,
I love that.
Yeah, Lex Squared was like a funny nerd joke. Like I could see a nerdy couple doing that to think that they're clever, and everyone else rolling their eyes. What I like about their use here, particularly when we get to Alexa's speech at the end, where she's like, "I lost a part of myself. Do you know how much it hurt to be completely alone, to think you were to be the smartest one all the time, and then to finally find someone else who is just as smart or even smarter than you, and then to lose them?" I really like that thing because it really parallels with this Superman, who is like this, genius that is kind of been alone in a lot of ways his whole life growing up. And so I think that's a really interesting way to parallel Lex Luthor and Superman and not make it kind of generic and obvious, and why the hell does Lex Luthor not figure out who Superman is like Smallville did?
That's part of what I like here is it is still, again, a more cynical teenage kid Superman that's good at everything, learning to figure out what he should use his power for, and then Lex is kind of the same way. Both Lexes are kind of the same way. Like, there's a sense of elitism throughout the books that gets slowly defeated, and I really like that.
Yeah. I don't know, Alex, what did you think of Lex Luthor?
I picked up on all the stuff that you guys mentioned. I think that works. I don't think it necessarily adds anything enormously worthwhile. I was just kind of like, okay, it's a different take.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that makes this funny, and, we'll get to this when we get to Batman Volume 2, but, like, these came out really close to each other. Volume 3 of Earth 1, Superman, and Volume 1, or Volume 2 of Batman, and they have literally the exact same twist.
Yep.
That the character who you think's going to be a bad guy ends up being a different character and a woman. And it's like, that's really funny, and you'd think that somewhere along the line, Jeff Johns, JMS maybe were walking past each other in the hallways of DC Comics, because I assume they work in the same building. They don't. But, like, maybe they passed each other, and they're like, "Hey, I've just finished my draft for Volume 1, and yeah, cool, me too. Guess what? I added a really cool twist that the fans are going to, freak out about. Oh, you too? Me too. Mine's with one of the villains. Oh, me too? Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to read it, man. It's going to be awesome when it comes out." And then Jeff Johns goes into, a board meeting to do the businessy side of stuff, and he's like, "Oh, we're going to have some really big shocks for the fans coming up with these Earth 1 titles." And then, it didn't dawn on them that they used the exact same twist until the books came out. I legitimately think that's what happened, because there's no way that editorial caught they're both using that exact same twist and just, let it pass, right?
What I don't get is, isn't there supposed to be some editor who's in charge of all of the Earth 1 stuff?
I don't think there is, because it's never mentioned. It's really bizarre that they both had that same twist, and I remember hearing a story somewhere that confirms that that both of them were working on these stories at the same time, and they both realized they had the same twist, but I don't remember, who said this or where it came from.
Hmm.
Like JMS admits that it's his fault that the third one didn't come out sooner, and why I don't remember. Because this is 3 years after Volume 2 as opposed to 2.
Gotcha. Lovely.
And Jeff Johns has the same thing, but that's because he's Jeff Johns and he does like a million things at DC. So I can buy it more for him. JMS doesn't do a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so bizarre that it happened that way.
Yeah.
And I have no idea. Like, because from what I understand, they wanted this to be more of a, okay, here's a world for some of our, like,
it's
you know,
called
top...
Earth One. I mean, it's there in the title.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, here's a world for some of our top-name writers. Just go ahead, do your own thing. These books aren't going to come out super regularly, so we don't really have to worry about continuity. So I guess they just thought they didn't need much supervision.
Possible.
Like, I think they just kind of trusted these writers to do stuff that people would like, and that, you know, you don't really have to worry about continuity because it's its own thing. So just go ahead and have fun with it. And so I cannot believe that this got past, you know, editors and stuff.
Well, and then you read the end of, is that Volume 2? When you get to the newspaper, and it's like they're talking about Batman. And it's quite clearly like an out-of-focus picture of Gary Frank's art.
You know, it's one of my biggest nitpicks of all time, but I hate it in, like, movies and comics and stuff when, like, they did this with the Batman, is the most recent example that I watched that I can think of, when, like, there'll be news footage, but they'll just, like, take a clip from, you know, a previous episode or take a clip from the last movie, and I'm just like, how did you get that shot? I was watching this.
That always takes me out of stuff.
Yeah.
Does that mean that, like, I was seeing part of the previous thing from a particular person's perspective? Or...
oh, man, it's weird, isn't it? Planet of the Apes does that. I hate that. I'm like, where did you get that shot? How? When it's in live action, I can sort of maybe understand, because maybe it's hard to get those, like, exact actors back and everything, but when it's in animation, there's just no excuse, especially in comic books. Just, god damn it, whoever drew that little panel of Batman, just draw a quick sketch of a blurry Batman, for Christ's sake. I mean, alright, I'm almost done with this rant, I promise. The biggest problem with that picture of Batman is we see newspapers in the Earth 1 Batman books, and they don't have actual pictures of Batman. They're doing, like, sketches of Man-Bat, basically. And that's just... what the shit?
There was no editorial coordination between these books at all.
No.
There can't have been.
They don't
Otherwise, that
take place in the same universe.
Yeah, can we just even briefly touch on that? Because, like, I don't see how they could be in the same universe.
When you get to Teen Titans and Wonder Woman especially, like, these are different worlds.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I think it's one of those things that's comic books where it can just kind of generally be, you know, you can have magic and science coexist. I don't think that they necessarily have to be in different worlds. I just think they're kind of like, you know, it's the different... It's just, you know, DC and Metropolis... Or Gotham and Metropolis are just really different, and then Wonder Woman's always supposed to be really freaky and weird. Teen Titans is the only one where the writer came out and specifically said it's not in a shared universe, and that's actually the biggest problem with that book. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, no, I see no problem with these sharing a universe. I was legitimately shocked that they didn't get something out in time for Batman vs. Superman, and I will be flabbergasted if we don't get something that crosses these titles over, like a Trinity or a Batman-Superman book by the time Justice League comes out.
We probably won't. They've announced the next two titles, which are Aquaman and Flash, and JMS is doing Flash, and Francis Manapul's doing Aquaman, and they were both supposed to come out this year, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if we don't get some kind of crossover by the time Justice League comes out, though, because I mean, it's just the whole point of these books being out there is to give, you know, new readers something really basic and quick to grab onto. That you know, the idea is you come out of the movie store or the movie store, because that's what they're called. You come out of the theater.
That's what it is.
Yeah. you come out of the theater after watching the newest DC picture, and you go to the nearest like Barnes and Noble or whatever, and this is like the one comic book they have.
And it's like, oh, it's an actual book. It's not a single issue that you're going to buy one thing and not know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, so like that's the idea of these. So I'd be shocked if they don't, try to capitalize on that. And
but we're talking about DC.
True.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, I kind of hate to be so harsh, but like, we've seen them for how many years now make consistently terrible decisions? It's just like, if anything good happens, it seems like it's by accident.
Ouch. So anyway, back to this book itself. We're criticizing the book, Alex, not DC as a company.
No, that would be its own rant. That would be its own 2-hour video about everything they're doing wrong.
No, that was all my bad. I got off of my goddamn, pictures that shouldn't be there kind of thing.
So are we still talking Superman, or are we moved on to Batman? I can't tell anymore.
No, we're still talking Superman.
Okay.
No, it's one of those things. I like this book. So Alex, you take us somewhere on this. No, wait, you got us to Lex Luthor. Steve, you take us somewhere on Volume 3.
Okay. Volume 3, I think, is interesting because it's a much smaller scale than the second one was, but it's still got the same like personal elements all the way through. Part of what I like about this is by the end of this, Superman is still not like... He's still not our Superman. He's still not the perfect altruist, but there's a really great like moment of clarity for him at the end. Like, he understands people are afraid of him, and he understands that he doesn't understand politics, and he understands that his consequences of actions, and he's hurt people, and like it's almost like the end of this book, he's finally woken up, and I really like that.
I don't know.
What did you guys think?
I like that, and I think... Yeah, that is weird.
Oh, yeah, that's dumb.
Man signal before we got a bat signal in this continuity.
That's really dumb.
Yeah. And to your point, though, about Superman realizing that he's hurt people, I really like that, Alexa Luthor kills Zod and tries to kill Superman.
Yeah.
As a result of that kind of thing. It's like he's inspiring people to do the right thing, because that's happened in both books beforehand. Because, Alex, you made the point that Volume 1, Jimmy Olsen's more heroic than Superman. I disagree, but, Jimmy Olsen, you have a civilian, and Lois Lane as well. You have civilians take action to save the hero so he can save the day. And then you have Lisa do the same thing in Volume 2. She hits,
Doesn't she? I thought she hits Parasite in the second one.
No, she hits Zod with the truck.
Oh, she hits Zod, okay.
Okay, because I was about to make a point. No, because Jimmy Olsen kind of, stands up to Parasite. So this point still works. Oh, wait, no, shit. All right, I got this. Okay. Parasite's sister is the civilian that ends up helping to save the day in the second volume, and she pays for it, but she's not really close to Superman, and the bad guy's caught because of it, so it's not a big deal. So Lex Luthor in this sacrifices himself in order to save Superman, does the civilian saves the hero thing, and that's going to create, I'm assuming here, that is thereby creating Superman's greatest threat. I find that really interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, I like
that they're playing with that trope.
And I like the civilian participation throughout all these books. Like, I like that there's always that big action scene at the end, and there's always someone that gets involved. Like, there's always, there's this, like, there's this slow degree of people being more active against these threats. And even though it creates Lex Luthor, and it creates Zod attacking Superman and all that, it sort of like builds the point that Superman is altering the world, and again, by the end of this, he realizes that.
Yeah.
There's that line that Terry White has, I think, it's like, we're supposed to report the news, not be the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I don't think to be fair, I don't think Lois Lane has ever understood that.
No, that's her character.
Yeah, I took a journalism class in high school, and like someone asked a question of like an actual reporter that came in, It's like, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think Lois Lane is as a reporter? And they go, she gets way too close to her stories, and her ethics are so out of line. Because she does shit to legitimately incriminate people. That is like just so not journalism. It's really, really funny. Yeah. Anyway, speaking as someone that works in journalism now, no journalist would do that. No one cares. You're not getting paid for shit. Anyway, where was I? I'm sorry, I got us off on something silly again.
Just about people getting involved in Superman changing the world and all that.
Yeah, that whole spiel. Yeah, I don't know. I like the way civilians get involved too, Steve. That does really work. It makes it feel more human. It makes it feel like there are actually stakes. That these aren't just buildings that we're seeing collapse or whatever. That there's it makes it feel like there are people in there.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just like some kind of as dark and as weirdly non-Superman as these feel from time to time. Part of what I love about them is just how absolutely human they are. Like, I hate Man of Steel because I don't think it has a heart. I feel like as strange as these books get, I think this series does.
Interesting.
Also, I'm flipping through the third one. There are polar bears by the Fortress of Solitude this time.
Okay.
So it does constantly move around.
Like I said, he drilled through the Earth's core. It's the only way it makes sense. Or the ship just keeps moving and not getting detected by radar somehow.
There's like a Mexia-Spitlick story going on kind of in the background through all these. He keeps moving around the Fortress of Solitude to fuck with them.
Oh my god, I would kill for Mr. Mix in this universe. That would be the greatest thing ever. It'll never happen, so it's okay. Then Volume 4 gets announced, and... Actually, Steve, I'm a little disappointed to hear that JMS is writing Aquaman. I kind of just wanted this to be, one writer, one character kind of thing.
That's what I was hoping for. I feel like everyone should get someone that they have a take on and not give them multiple characters. Like, if we're going to have Flash, can't we, bring back Mark Waid to do a Flash Earth 1?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on my Green Lantern Earth 1 book, goddammit.
Yeah, or Green Arrow Earth 1 book. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Hawkman.
Oh, yeah.
And Francis Vanderpool's doing Aquaman. I'm excited for that.
Did I get that wrong? My bad. Okay, was there anything else about this volume that anyone wanted to talk about? The only other point I wanted to make was I actually liked reading the articles that Lois Lane and Superman wrote in the first volume. That was really cool. And then the second volume, they get cut in half, and that pissed me off. And then the third volume, they don't even have them, and that made me angry.
I kind of missed those, yeah.
It was kind of a neat little way to do it, given it's all sort of about the story, about journalism, to kind of cap it off with an epilogue that is the actual stories that you saw the characters write throughout the book. That's cool.
Yeah, and I was disappointed that it diminished with each volume. I was like, oh, come on. That'd have been cool.
Yeah.
That's the only other thing I had about all these. Because, each of these got shorter because we kept referring to the other two. So maybe I won't link individual books. Maybe I'll just do timestamps for each, character or something. I don't know. We'll see how the Batman ones go. Because we're an hour and a half in-ish. I don't know how long we were recording beforehand. So that'll do it for the Superman one. Let's go ahead and do a rating on Volume 3 real quick. Steve, you go first this time.
All right, I'm going to give this one 4 out of 5 evil siblings.
I'll go ahead and give this volume... just because you screw up Zod, I think he has no character here. I give this one a 2 out of 5 angry Superman yelling at the UN. Like, this is a really weird twist on that scene in Superman 4. Alex?
I'll with each one, I think they get better, so I'll give this a 3 out of 10 Superman signals.
Oh, wow. Ouch.
Superman Signal is still dumb. Like, no matter, I don't care how much I love these books. Superman Signal is really dumb.
Why?
Yeah.
Like, why would they do that?
It's really dumb. I don't get it.
Yeah, because, like, they're going to have to mention that in Batman Volume 3. It's going to be like...
Hey, you copied my idea.
Yeah. Like, Superman's always had the signal watch, Batman always had the bat signal, and everyone was happy.
And in this, Batman gives Jim a phone.
Yeah. Okay, do we want to transition to Teen Titans or Batman? Because, like, I don't know. Where do we want to go next? Batman?
I'd say Batman only because that's the next one that came out, and Teen Titans and Wonder Woman are like the two most different of these.
Okay. Alright, that's fair. So, Batman Earth 1 Volume 1. Got us started last time, was it Alex? Okay, I'll start us off on this one. So, you know, Alex, you made the point that everyone's, like, really overly macho, and I agree, but at the same time, since I've never seen Alfred be overly macho, I find it refreshing and cool.
But he has been macho before.
I just guess I haven't seen it.
The thing about Alfred in Earth 1 is they feel the need to make him a badass while forgetting the fact that he was an army medic and an actor, and like it was the merging of both the art and the violence that made him such a fascinating and such a good-hearted person.
Mm-hmm.
And then here he's just army guy, and I have this thing for characters that have like this weird inner rage to them that they always have to quell. I always like when a character does that. So theoretically, I should like this version of Batman, and I can't stand him. I think he's just a jerk.
Really?
Yeah, like all the problems Alex has with Superman Earth 1, I have with Batman Earth 1.
Yeah, and for me, like, again, this isn't, I don't feel, I have no strong emotions one way or the other. It's again, there are a lot of things just about this world, this version that I like. Like, I really like the, you know, Batman is the merging of, or Bruce Wayne, rather, is the merging of the Wayne and the Arkham line. That really works for me. Especially, like, I almost want to just, Volume 3, I almost want Volume 3 to just, like, skip 10 years ahead and just have, you know, a full, fleshed-out Batman universe. You know, Batgirl and Robin exist in this universe now. Arkham is opened up again and packed full. I would kill to have this version skip ahead, because all the stuff I love about, like, my absolute favorite thing about Batman is when you parallel him with his villains, because every great Batman villain is in some way a reflection of Batman. And so to add that additional little layer of Batman is an Arkham and all the Arkhams have gone insane, oh, I love that. Oh, I so love that, because that's always been, like, subtextually there, and just to bring it out would be, that'd be the greatest thing ever. But again, like, that's just, like, an element of the story that I really like. It's not really fundamental to the story itself. It doesn't, like, it adds a little bit thematically, but it's not paramount. Like, you don't need that to tell this exact same story. I don't know, like, I like the, you know, consistency of Penguin has to be mayor or run for mayor at some point. That's a nice little fun, like, Silver Age 60s thing that we've worked into just the wider canon for that character. I like that. I don't know if I agree with what you're saying about Batman's character, so I'm curious to hear you say more about it, but for me, he works. I think he's like a, you know, kind of a young, inexperienced Bruce Wayne that, like, thinks he knows, like, he thinks he's that, like, 20-year Batman that knows everything, but he really doesn't yet, and Alfred's just kind of, like, you know, kicking him and telling him that he's wrong and stuff. And then there's that scene in this that, and I'll stop talking after this, There's that scene in this where Alfred just starts beating him up, and I really like that turn on it, and I like the way that Bruce wins that fight. It is that Batman kind of moment, where why does Batman win? Because he cheats. I really like that.
I don't. I really don't. See, there's a thing with Batman that I've always hated, where we make him go around the world training, and we always ignore the fact that the kinds of martial arts he's learning have to be training his mind as well as his body, and he never learns those lessons for some reason. And this version doesn't have that. This version didn't go around the world training. So I can buy him being...
As far as we know.
Yeah, as far as we know. This is just Alfred taught him. So I can buy him being really angry and immature. At the same time, everyone in this book is really angry and immature. And the only one I really latch onto is Harvey Bullock.
That is probably the most unique take I've ever seen on that character.
It's certainly, yeah, I mean, it's nothing like the Harvey Bullock we know. And it's an interesting way, I guess, to get him to be that Harvey Bullock, because he does get eaten alive, sort of, by the city, and turns to booze. And so you can see, like, oh yeah, 10, 20 years from now, this wouldn't be the Harvey Bullock we know. But I agree with that point, Ian, of, like, and I think this extends to almost all of these, I would just love to see them tell a fucking story in these universes. They don't need to set it up. I don't care about the origin. Just tell me a good story.
And so you like the world, you just don't like where the stories themselves are, or how the stories are being handled.
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say I like the worlds, but I'd be more open to them, I think, if it was just less like, here's how we're gonna do this. And, you know, just tell a story, and if it's there and it's different, okay, that's cool. It's just, they change some stuff.
So maybe that's why you're like, with the Superman volumes, you liked those more as they went on. Did you have the same thing with the Batman? Did you enjoy Volume 2 more than 1?
I think 2 is much better than 1. I think part of that's just because of Croc and how sympathetic he is.
That was a really big... Yeah. Like, I don't know what Johns is doing. He's got a lot of twists in this, doesn't he?
He does. He has at least 3.
One of them is someone else's, too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, you got Alfred, who's not really a butler. That's fairly new to me. Like, I think I've seen other people talk about, oh, well, he was other stuff before he became butler, but I've never seen Alfred just never actually be a butler before. So that was interesting, and then there's the twist on Gordon being like a corrupt cop, because usually Gordon's like always the only good guy on the force, because that's what Frank Miller did with him, is he was the only one that wouldn't take bribes. He was the only honest cop in Gotham, but that didn't do him any good. And so I thought it was interesting that he was crooked, but he was crooked for a really sympathetic reason. That worked for me.
I like that. I think the issue with that, though, is Gordon is a guy that's been beaten down by the city, and by the end of it, he realizes that and he wants to like reignite the fire of making the city a better place. But he does it by still being a bad person, beating the crap out of someone with a baseball bat. Like, that doesn't... I don't know. I feel like that doesn't do enough to transform him. And obviously he can't make an entire change in one story. But even by the second one...
He's still got the desperation angle there, too.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can buy him doing that. The issue is, like, even by the time you get to Volume 2... It's like Batman vs. Superman for me, where, like, everyone just seems to be antagonistic for no reason. And, like, I just wish these people would stop... every time I hear dialogue, I feel like they're all growling through their teeth. And I don't know, that bugs me. I like Volume 2 a lot more, but I still don't think it's as good as the Superman books, and maybe it's because I'm more picky with Batman, but there's so much potential here, and it all just feels really generic.
I mean... I don't know, I guess I get where you're coming from. I don't think it's great. I think it's just okay for me. So yeah, I guess I'd agree on some level with the generic stuff, but there are just scenes that I really, really enjoy. And so I can't put it down too much for that, you know?
That's fair. I mean,
got that Jeff Johns quality, right? Of like he's got good moments, but like as far as the actual plotting goes, it's kind of weak.
I also don't feel like he's got like when reading through his Green Lantern stuff, there's a clear passion for what he's writing. You know, like there's love for the character in every page. I don't see that with Batman. Like, I feel like he's just writing Batman. I don't feel like he's got, like, the same way JMS felt like he was doing something with Superman, whether you like it or not. I don't feel like Jeff Johns is doing anything for Batman or adding to it. He's just writing Batman.
He doesn't have, like, a unique vision.
Yeah, he doesn't have a vision. I don't feel like he gets the character.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I think he understands Batman. It's just not his... It's not his character like it is everyone else's. Because clearly his character is Green Lantern.
Yeah, and it just feels...
Like, I heard an interview recently, or interview, speech, panel, whatever, where he was talking about DC Rebirth, and I think this is, like... I think his justification behind Rebirth and everything is bullcrap, but he did make a point that I really liked, and I do believe, which is that his favorite thing to do is have someone tell him, you can't make that character cool, and then do it. That's exactly what he did with Booster Gold, Green Lantern, and to one extent or another, Aquaman for some people.
Yeah, so then don't put him on these big characters. Put him on your second-tier ones.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. Is like, I think like he can't really make Batman cool. Everyone kind of universally agrees.
Yeah.
You know,
He's already
you need
there.
water. Batman is cool. So, I don't think he can really make Batman cool, but he can write a damn good Batman scene. Like, and it's not a bad story. It's just there.
But for these big headlining Earth One, this is these titles that we're bringing in our best talent to do. These are our premier, you know, the whole thing's like a collected graphic novel. You want better than just okay.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
I mean, especially because you're waiting for so long. Like, this was supposed to come out the same year as Superman Volume 1, and it took 2 years. And then it took 3 years between this and Volume 2. And I like Volume 2 a lot. I don't like it waiting 3 years for it good, though.
Every time one of these comes out, I'm always like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I generally look forward to them. It's just... I just don't dig the Batman ones. Like, I don't get why you'd put Jeff Johns on Batman. Like, even forgetting the fact that he's a top-tier DC writer, his sensibilities never lined up with this character. I like some of what he did with him and Green Lantern together. I like their buddy cop dynamic, but it's a buddy cop dynamic from the perspective of how Hal Jordan sees Batman. I don't think this guy actually knows Batman's mind. And so reading his play on it, it feels like it's a kid that knows the tropes of Batman writing Batman. It doesn't feel like there's a person getting in that headspace. It just feels... I don't know. Like, it just feels like he's putting on a role before he's writing.
Well, do you like the Alfred fight scene, though?
Kind of. Not really. I don't like that Bruce would fight dirty, but then even so, I could buy that this character would do it. It's just a matter of, like...
I think Bruce always fights dirty. I think Batman is...
Batman totally fights dirty, but for me it's more like, why would you write Alfred and Bruce in such a way that they would have a fight like this?
Yeah, that's my thing. It's like, I don't want to see Bruce Wayne kick a guy's prosthetic leg out from under him, especially when it's his surrogate father. Like,
and
that's
see,
just a dick
I don't know,
move.
that it is a dick move, but I like that the whole point Alfred's trying to make is you're not really ready for this. You're a boy playing dress up. You're not willing to go out there and do what it's going to take to do what you want. And he's just trying to get him to stop. It's kind of in a really, you know, masculine way, I guess. It is kind of like the classic Alfred thing is, you don't need to be doing this. You're going to get yourself killed, and I'll show you why. And he's showing him why with his damn fists. He's like, you don't have what it takes. And then for Batman to show him, like I really like that. He kicks his leg out from under him, and then Alfred goes, bloody hell, maybe he is ready. I really like that. That's the way they have this conversation. I really, really like that about that scene. I like Batman fighting dirty. I like Batman fighting dirty against a guy with a prosthetic leg. It just works for me.
It's just that it's his dad, you know? Like, no matter how much I see characters fighting with their parents, no matter how much my dad and I would ever bicker, it would never come to the point where we're punching each other. And seeing that just doesn't work for me.
I wouldn't take advantage of my father's disability to win a fight.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter who's right at that point. If you were hitting that person, it's gone too far.
Fair enough.
Especially because this kid, more so than any version of Batman I've seen, is directly responsible for the death of his parents. Mm-hmm. And he'd treat his surrogate father that way. I just don't buy it.
Yeah, it's weird that the second volume doesn't pick up on that it is legitimately Bruce Wayne's fault. I'll agree with that. I don't know. I like that scene quite a bit. I like, Batman will fight dirty in any situation, and Alfred's the one that's going to make him do it. Again, I really like that. It wouldn't work in any other context, but it's that classic Alfred trying to talk Batman out of doing it, to going and having a normal life, and Batman telling him that he's wrong, that he has to do it. I really like that Alfred's trying to prove to him that you're not ready, you're not really going to be able to do this, and Batman's way is showing him that he will he will do anything to accomplish his goal. It really works for me.
Yeah, I get the point that is trying to be made with it. It's just kind of the context that it's in makes it come across a different way.
I mean, that's fair. I hate this excuse, but again, that might just be to your taste then, because I think it really works for me.
I'll fully admit, for all of the Trinity, I have very specific kind of ideas in my head of how they should be handled, and I'm more than willing to accept multiple versions, but certain things just kind of cross the line.
I've got that with Batman at the very least. I am really picky with that character. I hate more Batman than I love, so it's just one of my things where I love this character so much, I hate him for his own good.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys feel about the not actually a conspiracy plot?
Thing with
I liked that.
Yeah,
with Penguin. I really like that because I think it was Manos made this point. It was shortly after the pilot of Gotham aired. He said something to the effect of, "I hate it when writers try to make Batman's parents' death some kind of big conspiracy or something. The whole point is it was supposed to be pointless." I really agree with that, and so I like that it's, Bruce Wayne wants to find this whole connection and really look into it and figure out the mystery of who killed his parents and why, and then at the end there was a plan, but it still was your fault, kid. And I was really, again, disappointed they didn't pick up on that in Volume 2.
I like that a lot, too. My only issue with that ending is the way that fight goes, there's no way people would not be able to find out Bruce Wayne's Batman. There's blood all over the place and fingerprints and shit. It's really bizarre that Bruce Wayne would be able to keep his secret identity past that scene.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on if Bruce Wayne's ever been taken in, but fair enough.
I feel like I feel like at some point that should come up.
They could subpoena a blood sample, conceivably.
Yeah, but you'd also need the suspicion to get that subpoena in the first place. So
also, Gotham's corrupt as fuck, so who knows what's possible.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you need reasonable suspicion to suspect Bruce Wayne in order to get that blood sample. So I don't know. I can agree that they definitely have evidence of Batman's DNA, and if Amanda Waller is to be believed, he leaves it all in town. So I agree, Steve. It is a weird plot point unless Batman injects himself with other people's blood as a forensic countermeasure. I don't know. Actually, isn't that what Lance Armstrong was doing to dope up? So maybe Batman's doing that as a forensic countermeasure and a steroid. That'd be
well. He was taking EPA, which increases your red blood cell count.
Okay, all right. I heard that he was blood doping. I thought that was when you injected other people's blood to make your heart pump more blood.
It'd have to be
Anyway.
the same blood type.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. There's stuff in here that I like. If I'm gonna get to nitpicky stuff, I don't like that Batman's just driving his car, like his civilian Bruce Wayne car, around wearing the Bat costume. Like, what if you get pulled over, dude? That is my problem. And then the villain, it is a really, really typical, like,
Yeah.
it feels like the kind of serial killer I'd see on an episode of Criminal Minds, and not even a good
Exactly.
one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know, it's Gotham. Like, I like to believe that Gotham's just that fucked that there are like a million of those running around.
I
It's
just
like
think
Gotham
it's,
has the most serial killers per capita.
probably does. I kind of wonder what that does to like real estate values and stuff.
Right? Like, you just cannot find an apartment where someone has not been murdered. In Gotham, it takes a 3-day waiting period to get clown makeup.
They must have good building code though if you can drive on the rooftops.
I'd assume so. The idea has always been that Wayne spares no expense when making buildings. So what I really want is for Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern character, I want all of his buildings to be really well designed and be the only ones to consistently survive superhero battles. So he's really in demand, and Wayne hires him to build all the Wayne buildings.
That'd be awesome.
That's my headcanon. Just, I don't know. I don't see any other opportunity for me
Clark
to throw
would
that
write
out.
this story about it.
I don't know how you could really write a story about that. That's more of just a moment. So maybe I have Jeff Johns syndrome too. Maybe that's not as scathing.
I just mean
criticism.
the big story of, this architect is in demand. We can do a big profile that'll boost one of our members' career.
Oh, that'd be funny. Okay, so Alex, since you're the one that's like the most consistently critical of these, what is something in this like that you really, really did like that you wish other versions would kind of take off and do more of?
I don't know if there's anything I can point to in this that they do differently that I really liked better. There's things I don't hate. I kind of like the samurai outfit that he sees that's kind of Batman-ish, that I guess is supposed to inspire the costume.
Yeah.
But even then, it's just like, he doesn't really need an excuse to dress up like a bat.
I don't know, I always prefer the Frank Miller bat crash through the window thing.
I dig his costume, I'll say that. I think it looks cool. Both.
Yeah. I don't like what they did with it in the next volume, but...
I agree.
Well, it's weird because he transitions... Doesn't he transition from just the black bat to the yellow bat without any context whatsoever?
Pretty much right
this
after
book?
the first mission.
Yeah, he just immediately has a second batsuit, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that's strange. Like, they mention that he has a new bat suit, that Lucius designed a new one, but he's just suddenly wearing it. And, like, I did a whole rant video about this. The yellow circle bat symbol doesn't make any goddamn sense unless you already have the bat signal in existence.
Yep.
And so I hate seeing that symbol show up before the bat signal. And that, you start saying that 10 times fast, back to back to back, and it's really, really hard.
I agree with that, and that's always kind of bugged me in places where it's shown up, because the animated series is that way.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's that way on The Batman too, and I know Steve.
You could rework it so it's like that's maybe where Commissioner Gordon got the idea, but it's like, where did Batman get the idea?
Yeah, because you don't really think bats. Oh, yellow circles.
Maybe he saw one silhouetted against the moon. I don't know.
And he was like really, really into Tim Burton at the time.
The argument I've always seen though is it's yellow. Before it hasn't to do with the bat signal, but it's yellow because that's the most padded part of his suit, so that's where he wants to draw people's fire. So if he accidentally gets shot, he won't be hurt.
That's the Frank Miller retroactive explanation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
works.
that's what it is. It's just, I think that the iconography, the visual iconography, because at that point, Steve, it could be red or green or any other color.
No, that's true, but I feel like that works fine if you don't want to do the bat signal.
Yeah, I don't know. I want them to do the back.
I mean, I do too. I like the bat signal. I just feel like if you're in a universe where that's not there, then that's a good way to work the yellow bat in.
You can't have these books doing the same thing though. I mean, they've already copied the same twist. Both these guys are gonna have signals in the sky. Their mothers are named Martha. Much in common.
People are getting a lot of comedy mileage out of that, and I don't know. I have so many mixed feelings on the Martha thing.
Why are you saying that name? What does the name mean?
Why are you saying my mama's name? Okay, other little thing I like about this, Batman, and it's interesting because Johns carries it over to the next book. I like that Batman's cape is kind of useless in this book until he finds a use for it and chokes someone out with it. I thought that was clever.
That was fun.
Just little stuff like that is probably what I like the most,
I thought as far as, like, if we're going to start to transition to Volume 2 now, one thing that was interesting was you have that scene where Batman's chasing the guy on the rooftop and then, like, totally fumbles it and almost gets himself killed. And then in Volume 2 you see, he makes that jump and it's like, okay, he's more mature as Batman now. He's kind of with it.
Yeah, he's getting better. Also, just a quick thing, it's on one of the last pages of Volume 2. Alfred has this scene. Bruce says, then we need to build a better Batman. More than that, we need to build a legend, and it's like a full-page spread of Batman taking out some crooks. And just the sign, the street sign behind him says Diego Corner. And so it's a reference to Zorro, and I just appreciated that.
That's cool.
I didn't pick up on that. That's cool.
Yeah, so that was a nice little nod. I always look out for Zorro references in Batman stuff, particularly Origins. There's a Zorro poster too when the Waynes go to the theater. But yeah, just little stuff like that. So let's go ahead and do a rating on Volume 1 real quick. Alex, you start us off.
I'm going to give this, 2 serial killers out of 5.
Oh, so actually a better score than any of the Superman stuff.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. Steve, how about you?
I'd give it a 1.5 out of 5 malfunctioning grapnels. I like that sequel. I like that doesn't work immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, it wouldn't. Especially if it's just I imagine he bought it off eBay and just assumed.
He just has his face is silhouetted and he has a the fuck look on his face. I love that.
Yeah. I will give this, I don't know, man. It's hard to do this many ratings in one episode. I'll give this 2.5 out of 5 Barbara Gordon Batgirl sketches that so far have amounted to nothing.
Got the coming out. You never know.
I said so far, so I got an addendum to make there. But yeah, I'm there's so much stuff set up in this that isn't even kind of touched on in Volume 2, and it pisses me off.
It's because Johns thinks he's doing a run, but he's not.
Maybe. Maybe you're right. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to Volume 2, which I do have in hardcover. So,
oh, nice. Consistent.
Yeah. I don't like the cover of Volume 2 when they try to put all these faces together with the art.
There's way too much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that they all have different hairlines, and it doesn't look
also a
good.
really generic Batman standing on a rooftop thing.
I would be more okay with that if the eyes behind him were not, so weird looking.
There's that, and then there's the faces going on in the sky, and then you look down at the city, and there's question marks on the building.
Oh my god!
The Riddler's in this. But that's the thing; there's too much shit going on. You don't even notice half the stuff that's on there.
That's one of the other things that the Superman books have over this. I like that I like the consistency of it's always just a picture of Superman, and it's always representative of where he is in that book.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Alex, I did not even notice the goddamn question marks around the buildings. And
I
that's one
didn't
of my
notice
favorite
until
Riddler
this read
tropes.
through, so...
Yeah, that is one of my favorite Riddler tropes when he, like, I don't know how he does it, because that takes, like, fucking hours of planning and work to do with just one building. So it's always, like, so cool whenever he does it. It's one of those things where you really think about all the impracticalities of how these supervillains do their shit, and it's like, wow, that is really complicated.
It's all for the gimmick.
Right? Okay, so not to start off with two complaints, but so, like, the scene opens... This book opens with, like, the Riddler and giving this riddle to people in an elevator. And, like, let me see here. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth panel of the first page, you see all the buttons on the elevator. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 13 is the number, third row, fourth up. Okay? And Riddler gives his riddle and goes, there was a man who lived on the 13th floor of this building. Every morning he would get in the elevator and press the ground floor to go to work, but when he got home he would press the 20th floor, get out, and walk up 10 flights of stairs to his apartment. Why? And so then you go back to the fourth panel on the first page, and 20 is clearly above 13, so it does not function with the riddle that he gives, and that annoys me. It wouldn't annoy me if they just didn't show that panel so you could imagine how the buttons are laid out however you wish, but it does annoy me because very clearly
Gary Frank didn't read
a short
the
man
script.
would be easily able to reach the 13 button before he would be able to reach the 20 button.
Yeah.
And it's just a little detail, so either the artist didn't pay attention or it was written after the fact, and it pisses me off. So yeah, two really weird things to start off complaining about when I actually like this one more than the last volume. I think we all do.
Yeah, I think it's considerably better.
Okay, so Alex, start off with something that you enjoyed.
I mentioned the Croc stuff, and I think, he's a character who is often handled in a way that's sympathetic, but he's still kind of like, ugh. Like, this is a guy who eats people. But in this, I found him quite likable and not really villainous at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just, like, as far as characterizations go, like, I think this is just a good version of Killer Croc.
Yeah, I'm curious what the hell they're going to do with Volume 3, particularly with Alfred throughout this entire book warning him that he's letting too many people know he's Batman. And then Killer Croc's just, like, chilling in the house, eating out of the fridge. So he clearly knows Bruce Wayne is Batman at that point. And so I'm like, well, that's Killer Croc. That's a villain. You wouldn't just do that, would you? And I also thought Killer Croc died when he when he attacked the Riddler, but apparently not.
No, I think they left it out.
Gary
Yeah.
Frank's one of the things with this. Like, I think in places it's too sketchy, so I can't completely tell what the range of motion from panel to panel is.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at the scene. He slices Riddler in the back, Riddler turns and shoots him, and Croc goes down, Batman saves the day, and then goes over to Croc. He's like, Waylon, I saw the police finding the bodies in the subway. I should have done something before when he was in the sewers, as he gurgles blood. I didn't want to go back down there anyway. Coughs up blood, and then looks dead. I mean, the next panel, he looks very dead. And so it's a little jarring that, what's there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages later, he's, like, just got a bandage on his head and seems perfectly fine.
Yeah.
That's just bad paneling or storytelling. I think he just, like, came up with an idea after the artist finished the page. That'd be my guess.
You kind of wonder. Because, it's just the little visual discontinuities that take you out of it and kind of make it more confusing to read, frankly. Because, what you start to question, well, did I read that right?
Mm-hmm. It's weird, I keep saying I like this one more, but all I can think of to say so far are complaints.
Yeah. I don't like the Riddler in this.
It's not incredibly... it's not an incredible deviation to have the Riddler not be, committed to his gimmick, where he actually will let you go if you solve the riddle. That's been done. I don't like it when they do it with the character. I think it works for this story. I just don't like his riddles. They're all internet riddles.
They're really dumb riddles, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not dumb. They're just, you can look them up on the internet.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, if any person, when they're trying to figure out generic riddles to write, these are the ones they write. Like, there's no work put behind them. Like, I know you really don't like Snyder stuff, but you gotta admit, like, in Zero Year, the riddles that Riddler has are actual riddles. Like, they're not just trivia.
I think the best thing Snyder's done is write the Riddler.
Yeah, like, writing Riddler is difficult, and it should be difficult. You should make those answers clever, and this is just really lazy, and it reaffirms my thing of, like, Johns isn't, like, writing Batman. He's just taking on Batman because they told him to. Like, it doesn't feel like he's doing much. Like, I like this one a lot more. I think there's actually some really good, interesting stuff, but none of it's exclusive to a take on Batman by Johns. It's like a mechanically well-told story.
All right, so why don't you take us something you like, then, since I'm having so much trouble finding anything to talk about besides, isn't this stupid?
I like
in this panel here.
I'm sorry, what?
What did you say?
Sorry, where? Oh, I said I like the politics of this. I like the discontinuities in different positions everyone's in, like how Harvey Dent sees things, how his sister sees things, where Batman is, where Gordon is, where Waylon Jones is, where Riddler is. Like, there are all of these different people in different walks of life, different areas, and they're all seeing political issues that deal with the well-being of people, and the more power they have, the more alienated they are, and it always goes that way. Like, Killer Croc is a really strong dude, but he looks like a freak, and everyone hates him, and so he just lives by himself down alone. So he's isolated because of his power, but not in a good way, like someone like the Dents are. Like, there's really interesting dynamics for all of these characters to play around in, and when they all converge by the end, I think it works for the most part.
Yeah, I like that, it's kind of a trope to have someone deduce Batman's identity thing. I like the way they do it here, because they take the cliche that I can never stand, and they actually and Johns actually makes it work, where, it's Bruce Wayne's childhood friend. It helps that they were set up as childhood friends in the last book, before we did anything with them.
The first and only times we've ever done that.
Yeah, and it helped that, they're having just an actual conversation. It's actually probably my favorite conversation in this book, where what can Bruce Wayne do for Gotham that, Batman can't, kind of thing. And the answer is Bruce Wayne isn't necessarily better. I really like that. And they have this conversation where she says, the people need a symbol of hope. And he says, isn't that what Batman is? She's like, no, he's a monster that's beating up, purse snatchers or whatever. And I like that that's how she deduces that Bruce Wayne is Batman, because only Batman would think that about Batman.
Yeah. Especially
really
considering the previous volume, where, like, he's more of a screw-up than actually making any sort of difference.
Yeah.
Like, no one really has thoughts on Batman. The fact that Bruce Wayne would bring that up is very suspect.
Yeah, I really like that detail. That was handled incredibly well. It took two really tired, really annoying cliches that we keep dealing with Batman stories, where, I just deduced you were Batman. Like, well, that's not that impressive.
You and Batman like the same kind of peanut butter. And you wear the same size shoes. It all makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like everyone goes, Tim Drake was the greatest detective because he figured out who Batman is. I'm like, okay. Sure, if 900 other people didn't just deduce it by sitting down in a room, I'd give you that. But since they do, it's comic book logic. I don't care. I need better feats than that.
To be fair, Tim Drake's got more accomplishments. That was just his foot in the door.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, that's the one everyone points to prove how good a detective he is, and I get annoyed. Because of like, no, it's stupid. Quit pointing that out. It's a contrivance. Um, and so just like, it's nice it's refreshing to have that done in a clever way that actually makes sense, as opposed to just, oh, well, look at the way he walks. Yes, great job, comic book writer, dealing with something that I, as a comic book reader, seeing these characters drawn in still panels, could never have picked up on. Thank you. You're so clever. So just stuff like that. That was a nice little thing, and just the wider context of that scene, I really like. She goes, well, we need someone to be a symbol for hope. He's like, I can't do that. I can't put myself out there, but I'll write you a check any amount. And she says, money's not gonna save Gotham. I love the politics of that. Yeah. Alex, how did you like that scene?
I think that was arguably the best part of this. I felt. I mean, there's all sorts of problems of like you're still having Batman work with the police, which is like bad politics. Though I do love the scene where he gives Gordon the cell phone. And he's like, a cell phone with one button, a bat signal. And he looks at it and is like, Christ, he actually put a bat on it.
It's a little weird. Like, there's an episode of Batman Brave and the Bold where he gives Ace the Bat Hound a treat, and it's actually shaped like a bat. And I'm like, dude, this is actually kind of disturbing.
Of course it is. He brands everything. Batman's not subtle.
Yeah, I mean, it's corporate billionaire, to be fair. He does understand the power of branding.
And that is indeed how what Grant Morrison did with him later.
Yeah, Alex, I don't know how much I agree with you with the working with the police, because, I don't know, I always kind of thought... I always thought Gotham has, like, the, worst corrupt police system ever, and then you have Gordon there as, like, the one honest cop, and he and Batman reformed the police department into what it's supposed to be. That's the way I always read that relationship.
You could play it that way. It's just sort of the police as an actual institution are not the good guys. I don't know how anybody, who's watching the news in the past couple of years could come to that conclusion. So
I always
I don't
kind
know.
of saw Batman as he's the guy that corrects what the police can't or won't. So I never like him working for the police. I like the idea of him allowing the system to do what it does out of like almost generosity, but he doesn't agree with any of it or like it.
Yeah, because I don't know, like, he's not really working so much with the police as he's working with Gordon in this.
Which I like Gordon, the detail of this Batman doesn't know how to be a detective and Gordon is teaching him.
Yeah, but he's got the mind for it, right?
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know, I think it works here because, yeah, I do agree. I don't really like when, Batman hands the criminal over to, or, like, drives the criminal to the police station. That always does kind of bother me.
He knows what the prison system's like in Gotham.
Yeah, and actually, have you read Arkham Manor?
I read the first issue of it, but that was it.
There's an actually really interesting scene, not to get too far away from it, but basically there's a killer, like, hiding in the walls of Wayne Manor, which is now the new Arkham, and Batman makes it a priority to figure out who it is and stop him. And as he, like, punches the guy through the wall out into the snow in the middle of winter, there's a great little narration box where he goes, they're going to know that I care just as much about them as I do about every other citizen of Gotham. No one's getting hurt in my house. I really liked that. Of Batman dealing with, the prison system and the asylum, because, I mean, we constantly get this idea of, oh, well, Batman just, throws them in there to rot and tries to put all these security measures to make sure they never get out. I'm like, no, there's constantly stuff where Bruce Wayne's trying to, get these people better treatment. He honestly wants it to work, and it just, it's your fault as a reader because you keep buying
Yeah.
stories where the Joker escapes, not where the Joker is cured and feels remorse for his actions.
But that's kind of just a problem of the medium, I think, of monthly comics, of, like, you need the stories to keep going. If you were to write, like, a complete, contained story, I think you could handle these issues a hell of a lot better.
And I think that's what this should be doing, and I think we're starting to see that happen with Volume 2. Maybe John's just needed to get his feet for a while.
Let's hope.
Yeah, we'll see what Volume 3 is like, because by the end of this, I still feel like he hasn't understood the fact that he's writing basically movies and not a ongoing.
He hasn't changed his style for the medium.
Yeah.
I wonder, how much of outside of ongoings has John's done? Like, does anyone else know any other just straight graphic novels he's worked on?
I don't think he's done any.
Yeah, I can't
that's
think
interesting.
of any.
I mean, like, he's one of those writers that got picked up by DC and Marvel pretty early on and then just kind of never left. Like, he's done lots of one-shots and lots of short runs and such. He even had a run on what was it called, Avengers for a while. And then he has things here and there, like, under DC imprints, but he's never veered away from the monthly format. Like, this is one of his only, if not his only, version of that.
Yeah, and, like, I like John's. I love his Green Lantern. Obviously, it's what made me a Green Lantern fan. But, yeah, I hear people talk about him like he's the greatest writer working in comics. I'm like, he's got some really cool ideas. I really like his stuff. I think he's just, I think he just gets too much stuff thrown at him. I've heard good things about his Justice League run post-Throne of Atlantis. Like, I heard it started getting good after that, but I don't know. It's weird that he hasn't done more standalone stuff, though.
Jeff Johns, because I think there are two types of comic book writers. There are the work-for-hire writers, and then there are the all-star writers, that whether or not they're good, they're the big guns. Like, regardless of how much I love him, I think Jeff Lemire is a work-for-hire writer. Like, he's one of those guys that people just put on books, not caring about his name, and he has to build it from there. Jeff Parker's the same way. I think Jeff Johns is that guy, and he just got promoted to a big league writer way too fast.
Gotcha.
Because he's got really good runs, but like Alex said earlier, for the smaller B-list characters. He's the JSA guy. He's Stars and Stripes. He's Teen Titans. He's Legion of Superheroes. He's not Batman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you should have to earn Batman, and maybe he did. I mean, he made Green Lantern a character that no one really cared about into one of the top-selling, to the point where he almost kicked Wonder Woman off the Trinity.
And to be fair, his Green Lantern is so well regarded and so defining that no one can do Green Lantern stories that don't adapt part of what he's doing.
Oh, certainly.
Which is great, but that's a different sensibility. That was a B-list character that became A-list.
Yeah, and so, like, I was going to say, well, maybe you have to earn Batman, but if anyone did, I find a hard time.
I think he earned it. He's just not appropriate for the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if he wants to write Justice League, he can. I just don't think he can write Batman.
Fair enough. I think he can write Batman well when he's in dialogue with Green Lantern, because those two are like the greatest comedy duo of all time. They are always hysterical together. Anyway, is there... Oh, I did want to make one final little weird thing. Like, I just noticed this, and I thought it was cool. I like that Gotham, and it's in both books, I like that Gotham is planned out in a spider, or like a spiral spider's web, because that totally works with what Morrison did with, Amadeus Arkham going mad, drawing circles in his prison cell.
Yeah.
And that's how the city was designed, and I like that it connects here with the sewers under Gotham are a labyrinth because he wanted, evil spirits to be trapped down there. I really like that stuff. It's built really well in there.
How do you guys think that they're going to handle Catwoman?
I don't know, because her scene is, like, it totally feels unnecessary.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like, I don't...
It's like a post-credit scene.
Yeah, like, it just feels like a stinger. I don't know if his Catwoman's going to be substantial or even in any real way different from traditional Catwoman. Like, the way this story is written, I'd almost cut out Catwoman and just do a Volume 3 that's like Mad Monk and go like a more insane mystical route.
Yeah, I don't know, like, my thing with Catwoman is I really like it when her and Batman have just a fantastic natural chemistry, but have absolutely no interests in what the other person wants. Like, they just really click on a animalistic chemical level, but as far as life goals, they could not be more opposite, so it's really awkward for them to be around each other. I really like their relationship done that way.
Yeah.
So I hope that he does something like that, and I don't know. I'm curious to see what Catwoman Earth 1 design will be like, costume-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be fun if nothing else. I'm surprised we haven't gotten Joker.
I'm really, like, you almost have to do Joker in the first year of Batman, and we've already got 6 months down.
Well, the weird thing is, like, by the third volume of Superman, we got Lex Luthor, and he showed up at the end of the second. Like, it's bizarre to have Superman's arch nemesis and not get there with Batman yet.
Yeah.
Because I'm all Jokered out. I don't want more Joker stories for a while, but just from a perspective of a guy that's never written Batman, it's weird they didn't immediately go there.
I don't think he's ever really written Joker, though.
I don't think he has. That's the thing. Like, this is
maybe
one
he
big
just
chance to do
maybe he's
it.
afraid of approaching the character.
It's gonna be.
I would be. I mean, he's a tough one to do in a way that's, I don't know, your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen so many different interpretations at this point. Everything's just kind of a riff on something somebody else has done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, give me Last Laugh Joker again, and I'll be happy. Alex, did you ever end up getting a chance to sit down and read that?
No, I haven't had a chance to yet. But I have all
dang.
the files sitting in a folder on my computer.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you think of it. Let me know if you ever do get to it. Because I really, really enjoyed that. Okay, any other thoughts on Batman Volume 2?
I'm good.
Nope.
No.
Okay, I'll start out the ratings this time. I will give this, I'm gonna give the highest I've given so far. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5, surprisingly nice Killer Crocs. I did not see that coming. Alex, how about you?
I'm gonna give this 3 out of 5 bad cell phones.
I'm gonna give this 3.5 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5 duplicate Earth 1 twists.
Okay, do we want to go to Teen Titans or Wonder Woman next?
Probably Teen Titans, since it's the next one in chronological order.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so I mentioned this earlier, and I'll now state my problem, because we were talking about, whether or not these are shared universe, and I say that just for the benefit of people that skip to this part. Because, you saw your Earth 1 Geeky Gentleman episode, and you were like, I'm going straight to Teen Titans. Which I didn't even know was a thing that happened.
I
But anyway.
didn't either. It was news to me.
Anyway. Yeah, Steve told me, are we doing Teen Titans as well? I'm like, what? So anyway, we were talking about whether or not these all exist in one universe, and I don't think there's anything that say they necessarily can't. It's certainly a weird tonal thing, but that's comics. This is the only one where the writer has specifically said it is not in a shared universe. This is its own thing entirely, and that creates more of a problem for it than if it were in a possibly shared universe down the line. And the reason being is that you have all of the Titans, except for Raven, get their powers via Starfire in some way, shape, or form. And then you have Raven, who just has magical powers.
Well,
and
to be fair, you don't know for a fact that Raven hasn't had some sort of contact with Starfire. This is still only the first part.
Well, I mean, her grandfather, though.
Her grandfather says that stuff, but he could also be keeping this a mystery. There's nothing that says that Raven hasn't. gotten her powers from some
Would you agree that it's heavily implied that she doesn't, though?
I don't think so. I feel like it's vague on purpose. I feel like Raven is the wild card, and she's supposed to be, especially because Starfire goes to her at the end. Like, clearly there's something about them, and if she's the only one that doesn't get her powers from there, it's really that she'd get those visions and Starfire would know her. Like, there has to be something there.
I mean, I'd agree with you, but at the same time, like, her grandfather, like, we have to assume from what we're shown that he had a similar power set to Raven at some point, because he even says, the day you were born is when the vision stopped, so I knew they passed on to you. And so unless Starfire was sending visions back in time or something,
Well, her parents were there too, right? Like, the opening of the scene, her parents are there, the dad's dead, the mom is still alive, and then they take the baby. It's possible that something could happen down the line. Like, I'm not saying the book is weighing it, or is making it so that Raven is connected to Starfire 100%, but I feel like it's vague, so you can't make the case that she's the only outlier.
I definitely got that impression. How about you, Alex?
Yeah, I just got the sense that her powers were magical.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it had anything to do with Starfire, necessarily.
Yeah, that's the sense I got from it. And I feel like they heavily imply that her powers are completely separated, but Starfire is still reaching out to her some way or another. And, like, maybe destiny thing, who knows. So, I mean, that wouldn't be a problem if we were in a shared universe where, you can have, like, aliens and demons, and they're completely separate things that just happen to exist in the same world, like, mainline comics. But since the writer specifically says this is its own thing entirely, that becomes more of a problem. And certainly, Steve, you're right. Maybe in the next volume they'll lead into that this is all connected to Starfire, but that's certainly not the implication that I got, and that is my biggest problem with it, and I think the biggest problem with the book.
I just find that because this is one of those things where, like, it's got its own complete story, but it's got its own mystery that's evolving along with it, so I don't mind that, because there could be an explanation later, and that would bother me more if the rest of the Titans didn't get some kind of closure by the end, but they do.
Fair enough. Okay, so Alex, since, like me, you didn't realize this existed, are you a Titans fan at all?
I liked the cartoon show. That's about the extent of my knowledge of Teen Titans.
Okay, so how'd you like this?
It could have been better. I don't care about what their origin is. Like, at all. So, like, on that level, I wasn't really invested in it. I was just kind of like, okay, when are we going to get to the point where they're Teen Titans and doing Teen Titans stuff?
Well, apparently not for at least another volume.
Yeah. As I sort of unfortunately found out.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I'm not a Teen Titans fan. We did an episode on Justice League Teen Titans, and I explained all this. I'm not a Teen Titans fan. If you are, that's fine. I have, again, a whole thing of, like, silly complaints here that I'll get to. I want to make a rap song about Cyborg that riffs on the Fresh Prince thing, since they have the same haircut. Anyway, did this take place in the 90s and I didn't realize? Sorry, couldn't resist that one. No, but in all seriousness, though, I'm not a Teen Titans fan, so, like, just that this existed shocked the hell out of me, and I almost didn't consider putting this on, but, it's an Earth 1 book, it's only one volume, it takes half an hour to read, so why not? And then I'm reading it, and I'm just like, at first I was really like, oh god, I do not like that they're all going to the same high school. It was like that same problem I had with with X-Men Evolution. Why are all the mutants going to the same high school before they realize that they all have mutant powers? That's weird, and it's clunky, and so they do explain it in this, and I was okay with that. I did like how angsty everyone was. That really worked, since they're all teenagers.
Yeah,
they're all angsty, they smoke cigarettes, and they're not supposed to. Like, I like that the parents keep just grabbing cigarettes out of their mouths.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the thing with Titans where, like, they are all outcasts. And so they keep gravitating towards those types of things that would alienate them further, because they both want to be accepted and not at the same time. It's that weird thing of, I want to be different by being like everyone else kind of thing. That's the classic teenager. That's the thing with this book that I really like, is that it's not like any other Teen Titans thing out there, but it keeps a lot of, like, the core themes of those stories all the way back from their Golden Age appearances onward going. Like, this is classic young versus old, but it's more extreme than I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some actual stakes here. People are friggin' dying.
Yeah.
And, like, you normally wouldn't expect that in a Teen Titans thing, you know, for adults to be getting blown up by Starfire.
Yeah.
I was really kind of shocked by, I mean, outside of Red Hood and the Outlaws, but...
and they're also younger than most of the Titans I've read. Like, a lot of the times I read Teen Titans, they're usually, like, much older, weirdly. Like, they're almost young, they're almost adults when they're Titans.
Young
like,
adult Titan.
Yeah, they're adult Titans. It's like most of the times I
thing.
read these characters, like, in the George Perez, Mark Wolfman stuff, Donna Troy's engaged, Dick Grayson's, like, 18 or 19 at least. Like, all the characters tend to be, like, college age. And so they're not really Teen Titans, but here they're in the middle of high school.
Yeah, I like Tara and Victor's relationship.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of like a shallow teenager-y relationship. It's like, well, or make sure you get your mom's car so we can make out and stuff. I really like that. That's good stuff. And I like how nice a guy like, even though we don't get much of them just interacting before, you know, the plot really kicks up, I like how nice a guy Garfield is, that Victor's freaking out about turning into a robot and he doesn't want to talk to anybody about it, and Garfield just, like, takes the blame of having a really stinky shit. I don't know, I really, really enjoyed that.
They do really, because that's another thing with Teen Titans, where Cyborg and Beast Boy, or Changeling, depending on what version you're reading, are best friends, but they don't start that way. And they don't start that way for the very reason of Cyborg takes everything way too seriously, and Changeling typically is forcing himself not to take anything seriously. And they kind of do that here, and it's fun to have all of these characters always be at odds with each other, but then almost at like the flip of a switch, change what sides they're on, because they're not understanding these events. They're like 16 years old. They're all extremely easy to manipulate, and they're all absolutely emotional. And so there's no way for them to keep their own identities while at the same time deal with the situation. So they just keep hopping and changing, and they keep trying to join the whatever position makes them feel most at home, even if it's not consistent with what they already said. I think all that's really interesting.
Yeah, and I think it is well handled. So, Alex, of the books we've talked about so far, is this one, do you think, the best written?
Yeah, probably.
Which is weird to say, because you're not much of a Titans fan, and neither am I, but I kind of agree.
I think the art is easily the best.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I do kind of like the Superman Earth 1 art to one extent or another, so...
I can't stand the art. I think it's awful.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Like,
I like how cartoony it is.
I
don't like the character designs, because again, like, Cyborg looks like he's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's got, like, that 90s haircut, and I really don't like it.
I like the designs. I like what they're going for, in the sense that they're kind of doing what Brian K. Vaughan was doing with Runaways. Like, this is geared more towards that age group, at least in this current paradigm, that would read manga, and so it's got, like, more of a manga feel to it. It's got the same kind of setup as a manga would. It's got the same kind of cast and everything. A lot of the aesthetic is manga-esque, in, like, Slade's armor and all that. My problem is, it does that annoying thing that every time a U.S. artist tries to take the manga style does, they constantly mess up proportions. There's always a scene on every page that is disproportionate to the rest, and they manga, regardless of what you think of the art, it's always consistent, and that's what makes it so fun to read. Here, it's trying to take that aesthetic, but clearly this artist is not at home with that. And I know this guy's other work. I know Terry Dodson's Wonder Woman. I know his Spider-Man stuff. Like, this guy draws things that tend to be far more symmetrical. That's the most generous way to say it. And so it's almost like he's forcing himself to make the book look like this.
That's a weird choice. Why wouldn't they just get an Eastern artist to do it?
Eastern artist or someone that's more famous for doing this kind of style. The guy that took over on All New Ghost Rider does this all the time. I don't know why they didn't get him.
Yeah.
Or even like a Dustin Nguyen.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, that would be a little bit more in the other direction, but similar cartoony kind of a style.
This guy's done some covers for Star Wars, too. If anyone's been reading that, like, this guy's art, that art and this art don't gel well. And you really see, like, it really feels very clear that this is the outlier in all of his work.
Yeah. And I like the idea of, like, an East meets West kind of thing, but still. I don't like cyborgs. Like, I don't know, maybe that's just the story. It's supposed to look weird. I don't like the whole, T-1000 cyborg thing.
I kind of dig it, but at the same time, I kind of wish he went more full cyborg by the end. Like, I wish I had, like, a more solid view of what his robot self looks like.
Well,
there's like a picture, I don't know if it's on the cover, or like on the inside cover.
Yeah, there is on the cover. He looks much more classic cyborg.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't actually look like that in this.
At all. And he's also bald on that cover, and he has a fade. I'm not going to give up on that fucking haircut. Why is this in the 90s? Black kids don't wear their hair like that anymore. Oh, I'm sorry. That's going to drive me fucking nuts, dude. Oh my god, I'm so done with that. Like, every time I look through this, it's so awkward looking. Now that I'm not even engrossed in the story, I'm just flipping through it, I just keep noticing it and, like, getting angrier as I go. Also, I don't like the way they have Beast Boy change. Like, I don't know, Steve, you've actually read the comics, I'm only familiar with the show. I always prefer Beast Boy to actually change into the animal as opposed to this weird humanoid. What?
This hybrid thing?
Yeah.
As far as I've read, he's never done that. But I don't know, I kind of dig it for that reason. Like, I like that it takes him time to slowly revert back to being more human.
Well, that's only at first.
I kind of like that, though. I like this idea that, like, the change is instantaneous, and because if you would turn into an animal, like, just for a second trying to humor this notion of a person becoming an animal with their brain inside of a dog or something,
that's too far, Steve. We can't go that far. Too much in this book about superheroes.
But the idea of, like, the range of motion, like, you being your muscle control and stuff, it would all be wonky. And so, like, the way to more universally fix that is to make whatever animal he's turning into more humanoid, so it's more natural for him to move around.
I mean, fair enough,
I
but I don't
like
know.
that.
I don't know. I found it jarring. I just found it very jarring. Also, I don't believe that they have time to break into Starfire's cell by the time the countdown is done.
That's just a dumb comic thing where, like, she keeps talking, and clearly it took me more than 11 seconds to read that panel, so they're all supposed to be dead.
Yeah, I agree. I was reading the latest issue of The Flash, and it was actually kind of cool. They had him go up against Riddler, and, like, Flash is running toward Riddler to, like, punch him, knock him out or whatever, and the Riddler gives, like, a really long preamble, and then a really long riddle, and suddenly the Flash has got to be the slowest man alive for him to have not gotten there in the time it took Riddler to say all that. Because it's not like he was across the city. The dude was, like, right there. And yeah, it's dumb comic things where they don't really think about the pacing. You never get away with that in a movie. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I like this one quite a bit more than I thought I would. But I just don't have a ton to say about it. I have no idea who Jericho is. I don't believe he ever showed up on the show, so I was
He's on the show.
What? Really? What?
When you get to the Doom Patrol stuff towards the end, Jericho shows up. He can't speak, and he does the same contact thing.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, I did not recognize him at all then. I didn't watch that show religiously, so...
They change his design a lot in the comics and in the show and stuff, so, like, that's on everyone. Like, here, what he looks like is nothing like I've seen before. He's got the hair, but that's about it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I was not, like... I didn't know what to think of him. I was like, is that an accurate portrayal of him, or no?
It's not.
Here's actually a question that I guess we could get into, since this is supposed to be Earth 1, and as we talked about, the most quintessential versions of these characters' stories. Do you feel like this is quintessential Teen Titans, or do you feel like it's way too different to be like, you know, the prime Teen Titans kind of thing?
I think it is kind of quintessential Teen Titans. Now, I think all of that's more on like a thematic level, though. Like, I feel like this gets the essence of Teen Titans right. It just does it differently. Like, I've never seen this dynamic before at all, but it's all the exact same ideas. It's all the exact same pairing. It's exactly what these characters tend to be like.
Yeah, okay, because for me, when I think of that, like, again, it's the most quintessential Superman origins, the most quintessential Batman origin. I'm a little bothered that they change all these characters' origins so much, because if I'm not mistaken, Teen Titans was, well, we have a bunch of these different, like, you know, little miscreant teenage characters that don't really have any other character to attach to. Let's put them all on a book together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was a little jarred by that. To connect them all from the origin.
Yeah.
I found that a little jarring in comparison to the other Earth 1 stuff, but again, this apparently isn't connected to anything else, so...
The one thing I'll say, though, is when Wolfman and Perez took over on Teen Titans and they reunited the team, they made it so that Raven was the linchpin character that forced everyone together.
Okay.
So they do that, but that's more sketchy and more interesting. Not like this is bad, then that's more interesting, but more like... What they do in that story is, like, Raven would make it so, like, she made Wally West think that he was falling in love with Raven, so she trusts her immediately. Like, there's far more mind manipulation and stuff like that to get the team to work together, and so it's more about, like, setting a dynamic between them. Here it's just an inciting incident.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about with this one?
No, I didn't have too much to say about it.
Yeah, like, this is one I thought it was pretty well done. I just don't have a ton to talk about either. Steve?
No, I'm pretty much good. I like this one a lot. It's not my favorite, but I like it a lot.
Okay. Steve, then you go ahead and start out with a rating.
Okay. I will give this 4 out of 5 liquid metal Terminator references.
I'll go ahead and give it 3.5 out of 5 Deathstroke armors that I hate. Alex?
I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5 as well, but out of 5 incinerated parents.
Lovely. Okay, so here we are. We're moving on to what really incited this video, and I'm going to make a prediction about how Alex felt, because he has not told me at all.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it.
Yeah.
The
so
suspense.
I'm gonna make a prediction about, like, I'm gonna Milan it up too. I'm gonna make a prediction about how Alex felt about Wonder Woman Earth 1. Okay, you ready? It was like you were in a really, really hot BDSM situation with the dominatrix, and she had you, like, almost there, and then just stopped, slapped your balls, and walked away. Did I get it?
More or less.
God, I knew it. I'm so disappointed, though. So, what I meant by that is you probably liked, like, everything leading up until the reveal about the Hercules thing, and that probably pissed you off.
I didn't care for that. My biggest problem was just, like, there's not really a story. Like, it sets up all kinds of great stuff. I would love for this to be the Wonder Woman universe that we use from now on, aside from the parentage thing. But there's not really a story. Like, nothing happens.
it's interesting because like I kind of felt that way too, and then I was just compelled to go read Morrison interviews with this, and he talked about how Marsden was kind of like shocked and a little disgusted with the just intense masculinity of the time, and he's like, well, imagine if he was reading comics today, and so he wanted to do something that like wasn't like anything else, didn't have a big conflict, something that was above that, and so. Like, I hear people complaining about the Medusa thing and how she's, like, such a non-entity in the story and doesn't really matter. And he's like, yeah, I could have had Wonder Woman fight Medusa, but I didn't want to. And, like, when you think about that, when you think about him saying that, you can start to see that developed and directly pointed out by characters and panels. Like, with the Medusa thing, which is supposed to be the big climactic fight scene in the origin, like we have with all these other books. The Medusa thing, you have one of the sorority sisters say, there's going to be a fight, and another say, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I agree that there's not like a traditional story, but I think he's trying to do something that's not very traditional.
That's my thing with it. Like, part of why I really love this one is it's so much more about, like, making people understand Wonder Woman as opposed to anything else. Like, what we had with Teen Titans was just a story being told. What we had with Batman is just a story being told. With Superman, it was more about, like, remaking that character from another person's eyes. Wonder Woman's one of those characters that's historically important, is part of the Trinity, yet no one knows anything about her, and she's always been kind of shoved aside. And so I feel like this is the story where Morrison's like, this is why Wonder Woman as a concept, as a symbol, is important. And it's the trial of Diana Prince in the sense that it's her making her case for herself against the reader, and I really like that.
Yeah, that was kind of my next point, was like, even though there isn't like an adventure plot necessarily, I mean, it's kind of there subtly. Absolutely, the framing it as the trial, having it being very meta in that respect. I mean, the thing ends with, like, you know, let's talk about this. Her coming back to man's world. So, yeah, I thought that all worked really, really well. It was just like, I don't know, I like a bit more adventure in my Wonder Woman stories.
And to be fair, I feel like this is even more so set up for Volume 2. And that's the thing with Teen Titans. Like, part of what I like about Superman Earth 1 Volume 1 is even if you don't get the other volumes, it still functions as its own story. And that stops right away after that. Like, all the other books start becoming pieces of a bigger trilogy. And Morrison's come out and said that this is a trilogy now, but I really wish it was just its own story.
Yeah, like you give it another 10 pages.
It feels like he wrote a first issue in, like, the span or the space of a graphic novel.
I should point this out, though. I think it's important to mention that this is not what his original idea was. The reason this book is so furiously late is because Grant Morrison wrote the story, we had some drawings for it, and then he scrapped it and completely rewrote it.
Oh, wow.
What was his original plan?
His original idea I don't know anything about. I've been looking for interviews, hearing him talk about it. He hasn't said anything. He says that he started writing this, and then he felt like he wasn't making the case of why Wonder Woman matters strongly enough, or he felt like his story was betraying the concept, and then made this. So it's almost like this was his, like, therapy to understand Wonder Woman. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and Alex, I agree about the adventure thing, but knowing what he was trying to do, he definitely succeeds at, I think. Trying to do, like, we don't have to fight. We can actually, you know, it's a brave thing to do to actually lovingly submit to an authority figure, and, you know, we can get into the whole bondage thing in a minute here. It's a brave thing to give yourself up to someone else. It takes bravery and courage to do that. It takes forethought and understanding and trust, and that's a braver thing than fighting. So, like, knowing that that's what he's trying to do, I think it's effective, and it does that. So I'd agree that, yeah, I mean, I like Wonder Woman, adventure, fighting dragons, monsters, whatever, too, but if we're going to do with this idea of Marsden's whole thing about, you know, not that Marsden made this argument himself, but like the classic straw man argument for Marsden's whole viewpoint on female superiority was, if women ruled the world, there would be no wars kind of situation. That's way oversimplifying, but still. So if we're going to approach something from that perspective, then we have to change how we're going to tell a story to a certain extent. If there's a better way, we have to show it, right?
Mm-hmm. No, and I agree with all that.
Mm-hmm. And I do agree, but I think, importantly, it's not like this is the only thing we have, so...
How do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's not like this is the only Wonder Woman we have. We do have High Adventure Wonder Woman out there still.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the thing I always like about comics is if you don't like one version, that's fine. There's other stuff, so you're never completely alone.
It's just such a shame to see so often that, they don't include, like, all these things that this book includes. Like, where the hell is Zeta Candy half the time? When was the last time we saw the purple healing ray and, like, it actually be an important plot device?
Yeah, I mean, I really like that they're showing the nurturing, the understanding side of Wonder Woman. Like, all the really great stuff she's doing here besides lifting that Jeep, which was a really fucking cool panel.
Yeah.
I love what's the guy's name on this? I'm not pronouncing that name. I love how he uses the stars and the lassos for panel layout and stuff. But anyway, a lot of the coolest stuff we see her do is when she's being really compassionate and helping and stuff. I really like that.
Yeah, Morrison definitely nails the character of Diana. And I love how when she is on Paradise Island, she is, like, sort of mischievous. That's still her, too. And that's kind of an interesting part of the character that I feel like gets left by the wayside when people try to make her more like Xena.
That's the thing with her. Like, she, from the very beginning, is a rebellious child. And they play on that and then almost make it like her role on the island. Like, there's a very particular theater that these Amazons operate in. And Diana plays a very particular role in that. And she just, over time, outgrows it. And I think that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Loki if he never went psycho.
Yeah, that's the thing with this. Like, it feels so classic mythological for most of this.
In some ways, yeah.
There's.
Sorry,
go ahead, Steve.
No, I was just gonna say, there's so many elements of it, like from storytelling angles and artistically. Like, this is very classic mythology, but then it's going back into like the more high concept sci-fi comic booky thing. And part of what I like about the Hercules thing at the end, I think the reason I'm okay with this and I'm not okay with it in the Azzarello thing is that it makes, in Azzarello's, it makes Diana more of an accident, and here it makes it a very conscious decision on Hippolyta's part. Mm-hmm. Like, it's her literally overcoming someone else and using them the way she was used.
It's the best that it could possibly be handled.
Yeah.
See, actually, I'm in disagreement. I like what Azzarello does with it just because it fits in with all the other Greek myth that he is almost literally adapting and just bringing into the 21st century. Here, the reason I don't like it, actually, is because everything else is damn near like Marsden, but written well.
That's a good way of putting it.
And it's so, like, just to make... And I actually looked up why Morrison changed it, and it is for arguably the dumbest reason. He's like, it's comic books, there's weird shit in it. And Morrison's the one that does all the weird shit in comic books that everyone else is afraid to touch. I looked up why he didn't want to do the Clay origin, and he goes, I just always thought it'd be really weird. Your parents tell you that they just animated you one day. And I'm like, really? That's why you changed it?
How is that less weird than being rocketed to Earth?
I don't know, man. Like, that one pissed me off. That was the one thing. Like, actually, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I can't defend it. Everything else is so in line with what Marsden was doing. That was his intention, was to make it as, like, Marsden but written well and, with subtlety. And it was that in every other way, and then that happens, and I'm like, why? And like, if there was an actual good reason, and I think there's kind of one with what Steve's talking about, but when you have an interview with the writer and he tells you it's just because I don't like the Clay origin, I'm like, really,
Now,
really, Graham
Come
Wilson?
on, man.
that's totally fair. I think the Clay origin would be better, but like Alex said, this is the best you could do with this twist on it.
I mean, fair enough. Importantly, she's still made.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
she's like Hippolyta talks about like manufacturing her, and I like that.
The other thing is,
I also like that she's created as a weapon against man's world, and then like that's it kind of gets to another point that I'd like to get into, which is the Amazons are really, really great. They're still not perfect, and I like that.
Yeah, that's my thing with them. I like that because Morrison talks about how he wanted to bring back the Amazons that were like idealized society and like technological wonders and philosophers and stuff. But even doing that to its furthest extent, there would be disagreement. There'd be people that don't necessarily see things the way other people do. Like there's
still going to be people. They're still going to have flaws.
Yeah, they're still going to have flaws, but they're also just going to be a closed-off culture. And no matter how much you advance, the more closed-off you are, at some point, certain things break down. And I like how well that's represented, especially when you get into like the fractured relationship between Hippolyta and Diana. Like a lot of the Amazons' growth and inability to grow further comes from confining themselves to those types of relationships, and a lot of that comes through with Diana and her going out into the world fixes that for her, and I think that's a fantastic way to make Wonder Woman part of the world, instead of just making an arbitrary decision to make her go back there to help Steve Trevor, and then she decides to stay.
Yeah. Another thing like about just the Amazons, I like that they're great, but they're not perfect, because something I'll often hear is, oh, well, I don't like the Amazons being portrayed as anything but perfect. I'm like, well, Paradise Island is literally heaven, and nothing outside of it could possibly be any better. There's nothing wrong with Paradise Island on any conceptual level. Then why would she ever want to leave?
Yeah.
I don't think you can process those two things together. Because in the original story, the very first issue, and I read that after reading Earth 1 because I just wanted to try to get a better grasp of it. In the original story, she leaves because she just Disney princess falls in love with Steve Trevor. And in this, she leaves because she wants to help people. She has her own reason. She's curious, and Steve Trevor gives her a nice excuse, but it's still a really good excuse that she wants to go help. I really like that.
It's good that she's motivated by compassion for other people.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can play it in such ways, it's just her duty to bring him back, and that's just her mission, but...
You could also play it selfishly where she's using him in order to see the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's elements of all of those things, but it's done in a really tasteful way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought as far as kind of the Amazons were concerned, there's definitely a lot of Morrison, like, showing off, oh, I read this feminist writer, or I read this feminist writer, because he phrases things in, like, a very particular way that somebody else already phrased it.
Gotcha.
But, as far as them being imperfect, there's a hell of a lot of fat-shaming against Etta Candy, and I love how Etta Candy's just like, fuck all you bitches.
Yeah.
Right? It's driving me crazy. Like, every review I read of this, people are like, oh, why would Morrison have Wonder Woman and the Amazons fat shame? Like, because they're not a perfect society, and that's the whole reason she leaves.
Well, and that shows part of Etta Candy's value.
Yeah,
Is, like, no, women who were raised in men's world know a lot of shit about dealing with patriarchy, too. Because they've had to deal with it.
It's weird. It's like they only read the fat-shaming line. Like, you ever have that where you read or hear a review of something, and someone will say something, and you're like, wait, did you read the next line? Or did you watch this?
Yeah, like, they take it out of context.
Yeah,
it's there to be criticized.
Yeah, and so, like, they have her, they'll go, oh, well, the Amazons are saying that Etta Candy's grotesque or whatever, and, it's fat-shaming, and I'm like, the very next line is Etta Candy being all, like, shitty to them. what's the line? God damn it, Etta Candy. Why did you have to be so sporadically placed throughout this book? This nonlinear storytelling.
I was surprised that they kept her as long as they did. Like, I know Morrison, and I'm sure he would have used her eventually. I just wasn't sure if he was going to make her as integral to this first story, and I'm happy he did.
I'm glad she's fucking part. Like, she's there. She's fat. She's queer. She's funny. She takes shit from nobody. She's part of a sorority, and they actually had the Holiday Girls. It's like, have we seen this since like the 1940s?
Legend of Wonder Woman also has the Holiday Girls, just so you know.
Which one?
Legend of Wonder Woman.
Oh, the new one, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so like, here's the line from one of the scientist Amazons. This is absurd. This girl is sick. Her body mass grotesquely distorted. If man's world does this to women. I don't know. I just like, they're doing that shit. They're saying that shit, but the whole point is that Etta Candy's come back like a quick little quip. And, I'm like, are you reading only half of that panel? Or is like the shock of it just throwing you off? But I'm like, okay, if the shock threw you off, then you have to reread the page and try to better understand the context. You can't just read that, oh, it's fat shaming, and then like immediately throw the book away.
Yeah, well, it would be like watching the first Captain America movie and be like, damn, there's Nazis in this, I can't watch this. It's like, no, he's fighting the Nazis.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's really funny to me. I see that and I'm like, I scratch my head sometimes when people do stuff like that. And
people were like that when it comes to the bondage imagery in this especially. Like, there were so many reviews that clearly didn't get it, and that's ridiculous.
I mean, it's so obvious.
It is, yeah.
It's the subtext is, like, bordering onto text and bleeding into text. Like, it's not subtle.
Yeah, and it's not supposed to be.
Wonder Woman is supposed to be, like, a weird, sexy book. Like, the original artist, John Peter, I think it is. Peter, I think is his last name, or maybe it's Peters. But he was like a fetish artist before he drew Wonder Woman. And that's why all of his figures look like they were pulled out of like a porn comic from the 1940s.
Yeah, it's so weird to me that, like, do you guys find it... I'll often hear people throw this argument out when they just have nothing left, but sometimes I feel like it's a perfectly valid argument, so I always feel so weird using it. When do you think it's okay to say someone just clearly didn't get it?
I think that's fair to say if whatever their argument they're making about a piece, or like, because whenever you make a critique, you have to set up the premises of how you're understanding something before you criticize it. I think if those premises that they're setting up are fundamentally misrepresentative of what they're talking about, then it's okay to say that they're not getting it.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people say that with a lot of things. And side tangent very briefly, but the whole reason, one of the biggest reasons I spent 2 hours talking Age of Ultron is because there were so many people that just didn't get it. So people were saying things like, well, Tony Dance's armor in Age of Ultron is inconsistent with Iron Man 3. No, it's not. I spent like 15 minutes telling you why it's not, and that's the case of where they just don't get it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I will admit I found it jarring, but the more I thought about it, the more sense it made. So, like, I can understand feeling that, like, the bondage imagery is jarring, but, like, someone... Like, the very first review of this that was, like, really negative came out when it was, like, a preview on Goodreads or whatever. And so, like, they called it a male fantasy of just rape imagery. And I started scratching my head at that point. And I'm like, okay...
Like, the first few pages, and that was probably it.
Yeah. I'm like, I started scratching my head at that point. I'm like, wait, do you know anything about classic Wonder Woman? Like... Just literally anything. Because that's what there was so much of the bondage imagery and stuff, so just to assume that it was being put on there, like I saw someone posting their thoughts when the cover was released, and it's like, oh, why would you put Wonder Woman in chains and make her look all sexualized and stuff? That's not okay. I'm like, and
because it's
I guess
a fucking bondage comic.
Right? And I guess what bothers me about this the most is most of the people that don't get it are women, and that makes me sad.
I haven't noticed women. I've noticed a lot of male reviewers not get it.
I don't know, like, I don't want to feel like I'm mansplaining, but I don't know how to approach a situation like that, where it's a woman and you go, yeah, I like Wonder Woman and all, but I don't feel like she should be over-sexualized. I don't feel like it's okay to fat shame Etta Candy. Shame on you. Like, I literally heard in one of the reviews, shame on you, Grant Morrison, for having a feminist icon fat shame. And I'm like, no, you're not.
You didn't. Well, and Etta Candy's a fucking feminist icon.
So I see stuff like that, and I'm like, do women not know the history of feminism? Isn't that something that they should be being taught in school?
I mean, there's good feminism and there's bad feminism.
Yeah, like anything.
I mean, we don't need to get into, like, different waves and stuff, but even just talking today, there's, like, we can quite clearly delineate feminism, which is intersectional with other modes of oppression, so talking about things like fat shaming, disability, queerness, color, etc. And then there's that kind of white bourgeois liberal feminism, which is like, yeah, women in business, that's great, that's the solution. And it's kind of shallow and surface level.
Mm-hmm. It's like fixing the spot by putting something over it, right?
Papering over the major cracks in the foundation of their ideas.
Yeah, so, like, when I hear people say, why would you put Wonder Woman in chains? I'm like, well, first of all, go look at any old Wonder Woman comic. She'll be in chains no less than 7,000 times. But, like, the whole thing Marsden was originally doing with the chains was one of the very early waves of feminism. Their earliest form of protest was to literally wear chains around. That was part of the original women's suffrage movement, was to wear chains as a visual metaphor, as part of their protest, to chain themselves to stuff. And so Wonder Woman, and the chains were a metaphor for the chains that society was making them wear as second-class citizens. And so Marsden had Wonder Woman in chains, and she would break out of them as a liberated woman.
How can you show liberation without showing bondage?
Yeah, and then so let's use that, actually, because I feel like I'm just kind of saying, no, you're stupid, read more feminism, to anyone that has those kind of complaints about the thing. Let's talk about just the bondage and submission thing, because one of the complaints that I heard, I think once again they just didn't get it, but I do find some interesting ground in this, is, because I read a lot of reviews about this, was, why would a nation of women who were in slavery and rape victims, basically, or alluded to, why would they treat bondage and submission as such a high concept and value? Why would they see submission as an attractive thing at that point? And that is a question that, once again, I don't think they got what the point of the book was, but I do think it's an interesting question.
It's role-playing liberation. It's taking a thing which is negative and transforming it into something that's playful and fun, so it strips away any sort of the negative, neurotic, psychological baggage that's going to come with it.
And I feel like Morrison explained that pretty damn clearly when we had the thing with Wonder Woman going around with the Hercules mask.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wasn't that the whole point of that?
Yeah, how dare you wear the symbol of the oppressor?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's supposed to be this idea of, and, like, we get a more serious version where it's not just, catharsis, where it's, like, actually built into the society. I mean, fucking Christ's sake, Wonder Woman's worn slave bracelets since the goddamn inception of the character.
Well, and you would think, like, what they're celebrating is the festival of when they overcame Hercules. What do we typically do when we have religious festivals? We reenact them.
Yeah.
And then there's also the stuff done with Steve Trevor later, where and Man's World, when she goes and talks to the military guys, like, lovingly submit and we will show you a better way. It's this idea of, like, if you're forced into submission, it's a bad thing. It's bondage. It is rape's a crime of power. It's about asserting your power over someone else.
It's a book about consent.
Yeah, if you lovingly submit, if you lovingly agree to be subservient to someone else, that is brave. That's conquering your fears and gaining knowledge through through the realization that you are not
all powerful,
for lack of a better word, not as good as the person you're submitting to, but you're going to learn from them is the idea.
You're putting your ego aside.
Yeah.
Exactly, and so that's what they wish. That's essentially in this festival, they're kind of reinventing their history a little bit, which is interesting in a society of immortal women, to have Hercules be lovingly submitting to the Amazons for realizing the error of his ways and lovingly submitting to their society and their way of life. I find that all really fascinating, especially since it's so intricately and well woven in with just Dom culture and stuff. I thought it was really, really well done.
Yeah. Morrison, I think, is on record now being one of the only people to ever write all three members of the Trinity perfectly.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single other case where that's been true. And I don't mean like Justice League. I mean like write a definitive Batman, write a definitive Superman, write a definitive Wonder Woman.
Yeah, like separately.
Yeah, because if you just write them together, it's easy to just gloss over the intricacies that you wouldn't have to deal with.
Okay, so Alex, you were talking about the problems that you had with it, besides the Hercules birth thing and the lack of adventure. So did talking about this make you come around on it maybe a little bit more and enjoy it a little bit more?
I wouldn't necessarily say that's the case. I mean, it wasn't as if those things really destroyed the book for me. I guess the shock value of having her parentage not be what it was is kind of already passed with the Azzarello run. So seeing it here was just more like, again.
And it's interesting that, like, I think from what I heard, he wrote this before New 52 even got started up. So
yeah, he's been working on this forever.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like now the movie's
makes more sense with Hercules than it does with Zeus.
Fair enough. I really like that opening scene, and it's just so well done the way they parallel it with like the Greek pot art or whatever you call that.
Yeah,
I really like how well that's.
And I love how it sort of sucks you in as like, being kind of male gazy, and then it turns it around.
Yeah. I mean, the art does a really good job of playing with those perspectives. Oh
my god, the art is, like, the one thing that everyone agrees on is the art is the greatest thing about this book.
It's fantastic. I was worried about it slightly because this is a guy that's pretty hit and miss for me, but damn, he nails it here.
Yeah, and, like, one thing I really liked is, as I was looking through the sketchbook, he used 3D modeling to do some of his background in his ships. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
He used them and, like, must have traced them and colored over. I was like, oh, that's really neat. I was just really excited to see that, because I don't see many artists use 3D in their work.
Yeah, he does a fantastic job. I think he reminds me a little bit of how Tony Harris would lay out, like, Starman panels back in the day. But I haven't, like, seen that style in a long time.
J.H. Williams III works like that, too. I mean, people who have worked with Alan Moore, because I think Alan Moore sort of forces it on people.
Yeah.
Oh, Alan Moore, I do not like you as a human being.
I feel like him and I would, like, get in a fight.
Dude, every time I hear Alan Moore talk, I just roll my eyes. Like, we were talking about it on we reviewed his Green Lantern stories, Bill and I did, and, like, he basically took credit for the entirety of John's run based on one short story he did. And I'm just like, you're such an asshole, Alan Moore.
I read an interview with him, must have been like at least 6 months back. But it was quite illuminating because he touched on some things that he typically touches on in interviews. But, a lot of interviews he gives, it's more or less the same thing, just worded slightly differently. And it was interesting because I know we're all big Morrison fans here too, how he was kind of talking about Grant Morrison's approach to magic versus his approach to magic, and how, like, Morrison's this postmodern chaos magician, and Alan Moore's more old school, very systematized. And I was like, this is very reflective, I think, in the work.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think it'd be a great kind of project to just explore those two guys on that level, and like how their view of magic informs their writing. Because I think certainly Morrison's willingness to go with whatever and push the limits and just kind of embrace the weirdness of shit is part of what makes Wonder Woman
for clay
Earth 1...
babies, apparently.
What's that?
Except for clay babies.
Yeah, except for... I'm so
like,
shocked that he, of all people, would say that.
Yeah, that is to me the weirdest thing. Like, there's an argument for it that it still works justified in the story to some extent or another, but just when everything else is Marsden, that's the thing he changes. And, like, maybe it's just not such a big deal just because when you think about it as coming out before those things, it would have been fine then because it would have been different then, right? And now it's just like, it feels like it's compounding. So it's weird to think about this in a non-historical context.
Yeah.
It definitely reads very differently that way.
Yeah. Okay, anything else we wanted to talk about with the Wonder Woman book?
When does the next one come out? I want it now.
Oh, yeah, good luck with that.
That's exactly what I was going to mention. Grant Morrison right now is the editor-in-chief of Heavy Metal, and since then, everyone's been wondering, like, there's no way he's going to have time to do more stuff, but he has come out and said he is writing the second volume as we speak, and it's going to be a trilogy for sure.
Nice.
Oh, that's exciting. I really think that they're going to set up the Wonder Woman's lover in this book, the one that she abandons for Steve Trevor, cold-hearted bitch. I really think they're going to set her up as the villain, or would-be villain, or would take the place of a villain. Take your pick.
I think you're right.
Probably.
Because she's set up as being very jealous, it seems, and that was kind of interesting, that those emotions are working in there. And, it'd be fun to have a scorned lesbian lover as a villain character. That'd be different.
It'd be fun to take a lot of the flaws of the Amazon people and have them be represented by her and all the pros be represented by Wonder Woman, and they both grow into those roles over the course of it.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree. If she kidnaps Etta Candy or something, that'd be sweet.
I'm excited. I really want the next one. I think this is my favorite of all of these.
Oh, wait, shit, we forgot to talk about Steve Trevor.
He's great.
Which, to be fair, he is, I have so mixed feelings about Steve Trevor in this.
I really like him. I think he's great. It's just a matter of, he's barely in it, so...
Yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah, he doesn't have much to do.
I love the decision of making him black. I love the decision of him siding with the Amazons and him being open, especially after Wonder Woman teaching him that earlier in the book. But again, it's just a matter of, he has all of 3-4 lines of dialogue.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem, is, I really like his character, but I don't know how much of a character he has and how much of a mouthpiece he is. For, values that I agree with,
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of, that's another element of wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
I love the scene where... and then it switches to the two of them in the bar talking, but she goes to Steve Trevor and gives him a collar.
He's like,
He's so horrified.
Well, what that cracked me up more than that was, she goes, "You're a man," and just grabs his dick. That one really got me. I'm like, damn. Yeah, that's pretty much what a, girl who's never seen a man would do right away. It's like, wait, really? Let me check.
I think that's making some assumptions about identity based on physical form that aren't necessarily true, but
I'm thinking just more curious girl that's never gotten to experience that and has no inhibitions kind of situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's how I read it too, but it's also just sort of problematic from that perspective.
Well, I think that's the other...
You're defining male as, frankly, kind of in a patriarchal way of it's all about dicks.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing, though. Wonder Woman would not have been in a culture where, she'd explored more fluid gender identities. And so going and doing that, and then over the course of the next 2 books, realizing that there is more to her identity than just the physical parts of it would come later.
That would be a great thing to explore, is like, where are all the trans people in Paradise Island?
Yeah, where are all the trans people in Paradise Island? Does Wonder Woman understand that concept? Because, like, womanhood for her is so inherent, and manliness is such a foreign concept that the in-between would be alien to her.
You know, it's interesting. There was an issue of Sensation Comics featuring Wonder Woman where, like, a villain had the ability to completely change their form and actually become, like, another thing. It's not really, like, it's not, you know, a guy can shapeshift into other things. He literally became that when he changed into it. And so he says to Wonder Woman as, like, she arrests or ties the lasso around him and is flying him around in the invisible plane, it's like, all I wanted to do was be left alone, be left in peace, and not be attacked, and yada, yada, yada. And she lands on Paradise Island and gets out and looks at him, and he's like, what? We're on Paradise Island. Well, I can't be here, I'm a man. Yeah, but you can change into anything, can't you? And he goes, you're right. And so it changes into a woman and is able to live on Paradise Island in peace.
That's interesting.
Yeah, really great little, you know, it's comic book commentary, but it's still pretty good Wonder Woman comic book commentary on transness.
I'm glad Wonder Woman's not a TERF.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with that. Again, I find that all really, really fascinating. Gender politics are so intricate and it's so new and weird and interesting, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's why I like framing this as the trial of Diana Prince, making a case for Wonder Woman, and then later being able to explore all that far more literally because you've taught people that this is what you're doing with this first book.
Yeah, and like you say, Steve, I'd be interested to... I'm really curious to see where this is going to go, you know, 6 years from now or whatever.
Yeah.
2 decades from now, we'll be getting volume 3.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, though. I do hope for maybe just a little more classic action. You know, I kind of hope for it's a woman warrior that doesn't want to do anything but fight, that knows the ways of the Amazons and is challenging to a true duel, doesn't want to lovingly submit. I'd like to see that, just if for no other reason than classic comic book actions, but I still think there's some thematic stuff you can do.
Knowing Morrison, we will get action in the second volume. It's just a matter of, like, this being such a different thing for him.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear him talk about why he didn't include action and stuff. And you know, there's clearly opportunities here. He just decided not to because he was trying to go for a different way kind of situation.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, like, Morrison's one of those guys that likes to tell story regardless of what form it takes, including action sequences. So the fact that he rewrote this story completely, made it something different, I feel like he very clearly has an idea of where he wants this to go, and he just had to go back and make a case for it with this first volume, and so later we will get more classic action. And I imagine we'll get more classic mythology, because that's another thing about Morrison. He loves the history of mythology, he loves the progression of society as mythology grows and fails, and him not diving into that would just be crazy.
Yeah, I'd agree. Though, to be fair, I honestly don't need it, because I just thought what Azarella did with the classic mythology, bringing it to the 21st century, worked really well, but I'd still love to see Morrison's take. But I don't really need to see Morrison's take on mythology because I'm reading 18 Days.
No, that's true. That's why I say it, though. Like, I feel like he could take the classic Greek mythology and give it a 21st century spin, not in the Azarella way, but more in, like, the feminist study way.
I say don't go even back to just the straight-up mythology necessarily. So, like, start from the weird versions that they had in the original comics, because there was plenty of stuff that was included there, but it wasn't necessarily, like, true to the myth.
Yeah. Well, I think what was interesting about the early Wonder Woman stuff is that it reversed a lot of the classic ideas and just kind of like Wonder Woman-ized mythology. And if you go back and you study those versions and then, like, look at the things that we consider universal tropes, but universal in the sense that they started from a male perspective.
Yeah.
And then break some more of that down. Like, maybe have a middle ground between the Wonder Womanized mythology and classic mythology.
Yeah. Really, really fascinating stuff. Great conversation. Okay, let's go ahead and do a rating, and because I am the most curious about Alex, you're going to go first.
Okay, I'm gonna give this 4.5 out of 5. Oh geez, Broken Chains.
Oh, okay. I'm really glad to hear you gave it that higher rating. I was so unsure how you'd come out on this. I knew parts of it would piss you off to some extent, but I'm really glad to hear that you liked it as much as you did.
Yeah, I mean, that part aside, I really enjoyed this. And there's plenty of good Wonder Woman that's out right now. If you look at like the digital first
She is
books.
all over the place, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she is, like, I noticed this. She showed up in Deathstroke, in Sinestro. She was in that Harley Quinn book in the first issue. Wonder Woman is all over the DC universe right now.
Animated
it's awesome.
series. She's got to get an animated series. I feel like she's earned it at this point.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wonder Woman is all over the place right now, and I love it. Okay, I will go ahead and give this, this was the one that I loved the most. It took me a while, actually. I had to really think about this one. This one made me challenge some of my own thinking, and I cannot hate something that makes me do that. I will give Wonder Woman Earth 1 Volume 1 5 out of 5 giant kangaroos that you joust on.
I'm so glad those were there.
That's awesome.
You're welcome.
They don't even bother trying to explain it either. It's just like, they ride kangaroos, whatever.
Yeah, why not?
It's in Legend of Wonder Woman too, so that's awesome.
I need to read
Okay, Steve, how about you?
books. Okay, I will give it... This is tough. I'll just go ahead and give it 5 out of 5 purple healing rays.
Okay, awesome. Yay.
This is one of those things where, like, I know I have issues, I just don't care.
The stuff that's good overwhelms the stuff that's bad.
Yeah, and it overwhelms it to such a degree where, like, it doesn't affect it never takes me out. I have to go back in and then try and find the things that would be problematic from a story perspective and discuss them because I want to be critical, but just reading it, they don't pop out to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in my happy place after I close the book, so...
Yeah.
So I'm glad we got 2 volumes from the Earth 1 line that Alex enjoyed, so that's good. 2 out of 7 ain't bad. Alright, good stuff. Steve, Alex, thank you so much. I was so ready for this video. Like, I wanted to do it back when this book came out, but I'm actually glad we waited. Gave me some time to live with it for a while and really change my opinion on it over time. Really, really fantastic video, guys. I'm so glad your friendship did not break down over Superman Earth.
Look, we were gonna stay friends, but then I found out that Alex and I don't have the same mother name.
Yep, and now you're gonna kill each other.
I've got a spear, dude. Let's do this.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. Oh, wait, shit, Steve, what are we talking about next week?
Oh, yes, okay. Okay. Ian and I were talking about this beforehand. Next week we're going to do a discussion on whether or not criticism has gotten more harsh. And we don't just mean that in the sense of everything gets bad reviews, but in the sense that there are 2 extreme spectrums, and it seems like there are very few films that get the middle ground of just okay. Everything either has to be amazing or awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just something I've been picking up on lately, particularly with Ratchet and Clank, so I wanted to talk about that too. And Steve obviously has a lot to say about it as well.
I like
so, yeah. All right, so we're going to go ahead and leave you until next week. Hopefully you'll be fine with this 3 hour and 30-minute video-ish. I don't know. You look at the timestamp, people. You're the one watching this video after it's been edited down. Anyway, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I'm the Politician.
I'm an enthusiast.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.